And we are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vicinda. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP, which is a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard and skincare alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. I was also really good at that fake concerned eyeball thing I just did. I was pretty proud of that. Our mission here at Plus One EXP is to help amazing players find great designers whose games they can love, and amazing designers find great players who can fall in love with their games. We do that in a lot of different ways, but the most fun way we do it is just sitting down with those designers to play those games, learn how they're played, and get to know more about the systems and the worlds they have created. Today, we're playing a game I've been excited about for a while. It is probably the single largest indie RPG book that we have played on stream, and that is His Majesty The Worm. I am very excited to sit down and play it. We got some Worm fans in the chat already. We've got Egg Chan that says, "Oh, Worm," and Eldritch Mouse, Ty, who says, "I'm here for the Worm." Well, we're glad you're here for the Worm. I think we're all just plain worms in this game, but I could totally be wrong. Let me pass it over to the creator, Josh, to find out a little bit more about the game. Josh, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and a little bit about what His Majesty the Worm is actually about.
Hey, I'm Josh. His Majesty the Worm is a dungeon crawling game. It is a dungeon crawling game that I have wanted to play for a long time, and so I wrote it, and I've been playing it for 7 years. As I've been, kind of like hewing it from stone. It uses tarot cards for resolution, no dice, and its like focus is really on like kind of like thinking about the granular kind of like human elements of the dungeon crawling experience, whether you're cold or wet or it's dark or you're hungry, and like all that stuff matters and kind of like bubbles up to the surface in a way that I think is fun.
Cool. Awesome. I'm excited to hear that. We're going to meet our players in just 1 second, but before that, we're doing a thing. We have sponsors now for different streams. It helps keep the channel supported. If you want to support the channel, you can go click the Ko-fi link down below if you're watching over on Discord, or in the link to the video. You should also, before you do anything else, go check out the game at HisMajestyTheWorm.Games if you want to. But we're really excited. This is actually a dungeon adventure we're going to be playing through next week, so you're going to see a little bit more about this game over the next couple weeks on the channel. But here's a word from our sponsor. Oh, and I should have told everybody, y'all do have to be quiet because I am playing a video and I can't separate your audio from that. But if you yell in the middle of it, it'll just sound like cool background noise. Our sponsor this week is Weird Dungeon by Happy Jack Games. Here's a short video about that project.
A massive earthquake exhumes a lost labyrinth of treasures and monsters. A mountainous mass of rock floats high above the kingdom, engulfing it in shadow. It begs to be explored and explained. Whatever the reason, whatever the place, they must be delved and plundered. This is your Weird Dungeon, a prepless dungeon crawler in an OSR style. Your table will use the 11 different D66 lists of prompts to generate each new level of your dungeon. Discover in real time the level name, its inhabitants, and what dastardly traps and fantastic rewards await you. Play either traditionally, with a GM setting the stage and rolling behind the screen, or GM full, where everyone is a player and game master, developing the story behind their dungeon together. Gather your equipment, pull together a band of adventurers, and delve deep into the halls of your very own Weird Dungeon.
All right. If you want to find out more about Weird Dungeon, you can head to ttrpg.link/WeirdDungeonGame to go find out more about that. That'll take you over to the Kickstarter page. Again, we want to thank Happy Jack Games for sponsoring this stream, for supporting the channel, and for sharing their work with us. Very excited to sit down and play that improvisational dungeon building adventure next week. Everything will be built kind of on the fly as we play. You get to see it live on stream. So if you want to go check that out, please head over to ttrpg.link/WeirdDungeonGame, which is just a great short link also, too. That's just kind of procedurally how we generate it, but it does sound like fun. Also, we've got Caleb Zane in the chat, says they're fundamentally opposed to the monarchy. History is a record of atrocity. Their therapist said that that's fair. But I love it when it worm my therapist who doesn't. Caleb, I don't understand that at all, but it's probably just the colons and me reading it wrong. With that said, let's meet our other players. We've got coming back, one of my favorite folks to sit down and play with is Dan. Dan, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online?
Hi, everybody. My name is Dan. I use they, them pronouns. I am an avid gamer, love tabletop role-playing games. Always excited to come on stream here. I also am working on maybe making a couple of games of my own, but do a lot of puzzle creation. That's my main thing. Very much looking forward to Enigmarch coming up, making a new puzzle every day. And you can find me basically anywhere on the internet at Dantendo64.
Dan, I keep on forgetting. We have some puzzles we're building into Through the Void's final version. I need to have you build at least one of those puzzles. We've got Alfred Valley doing some other ones. And my favorite thing about your puzzles and his puzzles is usually I'm like, okay, I need at least I generally know that I'm supposed to be doing this thing. I don't know how to do that thing at all. Give me a hint. They're very, very good. I love it. Then joining us for the first time, we've got Chris. Chris, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online?
I'm Chris. I don't do much. I mostly hassle Josh. Yeah, I've got a cyberpunk hack of the glog, some weird sin. Most of my stuff can be found at wastespell.blogspot.com, and most social voids I'm at wastespell.
Awesome. Love it. Glad to be sitting down and playing with all of y'all. We use a couple tools here on the channel anytime we play, just to keep everybody on the same page and make sure the game is comfortable for everybody, especially since we play a lot of one-shots with different folks who have not played before. Those are lines, veils, the X card, and the open door policy. Lines are things that may happen in the world of our game but don't happen in the course of our play of it. They are off limits. We have a strong line against sexual violence and sexual coercion on the channel. Veils are things that may happen in the course of play, but that we handle them with intention. We may only approach them from a certain perspective, fade to black or fast forward when they come up, mentioning that they happen and then moving on, not dwelling on them. And then the X card is the ability to say or type X in at any point in time. We'll pause the game, identify what the issue is, but an explanation of why you don't like it isn't necessary. But it could be things from confusion to, oh, that name's going to be confusing for me if I hear it over and over again, to, hey, I have an issue with this content and I'd like to have it removed. Any of those things is fine. We might update our lines and veils as we go then, but we will keep on moving. Does anybody have any lines or veils that they want to add to our list? Cool. All right, just remember we can always update those and play. Those are living conversations. We also use an open door policy, which means you might see us eat, drink, need to get up, move, talk to somebody off screen. We exist outside of the 2 to 3 centimeters to inches that you see us on whatever screen you happen to be watching on. We are real people who have real world needs, and sometimes we might need to just take a break. So if any of that comes up, we will pause play and handle it as needed. But other than that, I'm going to hand things over to Josh to take us into the game.
Awesome. Well, first, thanks for playing, guys. I'm excited. This is going to be fun.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, so today, one of the dungeon that we're gonna run through is Sun King's Palace by Bats. Really like this dungeon. Ran it in His Majesty The Worm when it came out. It's made in twine, which makes it super easy to run at the table. I think there's also a print version, but I've just loved the twine so much. It's very interconnected. So I have also shared some character resources with y'all, and I think you guys have chosen your characters. Would you explain who you're playing and just read out some of the stuff about your character that you like and think is fun, attracted you to them?
Dan, do you want to go first?
Absolutely. So I am playing the character Mare, Child of Maroon. And they are an orc on the path of pentacles. The first sentence of this whole description is orcs are basically metalheads, and that drew me in so far, so fast. If it looks like it's part of the metal subculture, orcs would be into it. Is brilliant. It just sounded like a very fun character to play. As Tony knows, I love being very silly and getting into fully diving into my characters, and this sounded like one that would be just great to fully dive into. And a lot of the talents seem very interesting, and I'm excited to play around with those.
Awesome. Let me mention the talents because you brought them up, and probably all of you want to know. Oh, I like your cat. So you have one talent that is mastered. You should have a little check mark next to it. The other talents you have are in training. You can learn any talent in the game, but you start off with your path talents in training. And we'll touch on this in just a minute. You're going to get some experience points at the start of the session, and you're going to spend them on the talents you have training. So when you want to use a talent that you have not mastered, you have to spend an experience point to use it that time. And once you have done that 7 times, you'll have mastered it. You won't have to do that rigmarole anymore. So just note that down on your or it's noted on your sheet. Just like take notice of it. Chris, do you want to go next?
I'll be playing Reese of House Crow. He's a fight man from Fightland. What drew me to this was, your system has made both humans and fighters interesting. Instead of other dragon games where the human just gets a +2 to whatever. Their talent, Proud and Ancient, allows them to get certain bonuses in certain situations by yelling their house motto. That was always fun during playtesting.
Do you remember the house motto of House Crow?
I shall do as I wilt.
Very good. Yeah, Chris is one of the playtesters of the game. He's been back since the very alpha days where it's just scratch paper. Awesome. Tony, you want to go?
Yeah, I'm playing Robin Fungus Finder, and what really attracted me to Robin was the fact that their last name was Fungus Finder. I am somebody who inherently loves picking stuff up and sticking stuff in my pockets, or sometimes mouth, as a character, sometimes as a player also too. But I think one of the things that made me really attracted, you do this really interesting thing with almost all the races where you lean into and then subvert the kind of traditional fantasy stereotypes for each one in really interesting ways as they kind of get accepted. There's some like really intentional commentary, but I also don't know that I've ever read a halfling description that I found as enjoyable as the one that you kind of wrote out for these. So I was immediately drawn to that concept, as well as some of the things that you can do, like basically like you can share food with people just to increase your relationship with them, which is a classic strategy that I employ in real life also too. So some of it was just the sheer underpinnings of it, but I also like characters that are both dexterous as well as intelligent, and the way that Robin Fungus Finder was written is definitely somebody who knows a lot of things and how to do a lot of things, as well as is the kind of person who would have just a bunch of weird random stuff on them also too, which is very much the vibe that I typically get attracted to in a character.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Okay, so one of the things that we should decide starting out. Okay, so let me just give you some background about the world and the setting. And the setting of the game is in the text I say there's no canon. I don't want to read a gazetteer. I don't want to write a gazetteer. But I also have I also want to give a tone with the game. I need to stop hitting my mic so much. And so there's a lot of kind of fantasy garbage sketched into the corners of the text. And all that stuff is from my home game, and you're about to see some of this, right? So the premise of the adventure you guys are about to go on is that at the center of the world there is a city, and and it has had a lot of names over its storied history. And probably has an official name, today. But most people just call it the city. It's the biggest one, and if you're living there, that is the place to be. And 5 years ago, the city made a discovery. There are catacombs under the city, like the Paris catacombs, and that is where burials or entombments take place. It's called the ossuary. And the guild of grave tenders discovered a door, and in the door was a mythic underworld, this palace where giant elves and monsters from myth and legend, and of course the city and the world itself is what we'd call fantastical, but the underworld is fantastical. There are monsters there that people didn't think existed in the real world. And for 5 years, they started spilling out and invading and making the real world a miserable place. And eventually, Crusades beat those monstrous forces back. And now adventuring guilds, which you are, go into them for very specific purposes, not just treasure and acclaim. You're going into the underworld for something, because going to the underworld sucks, and you don't want to do it unless you have a really good reason. And and normally in the game, everyone would have a quest, and that's the point of the game. We follow your quests. For this one shot, the quest is this, and one of you will be the quest holder. And we'll, after I say what the quest is, let's decide whose quest this is. So, one of you has a brother who has been, a link boy for another adventuring guild, and in the course of their adventuring, they have been petrified by a cockatris, turned to stone. And the Guild of Alchemists in the city says that they can brew a potion that will cure them, but it has the ingredients for this potion has to be from a live cockatris. So what your quest of one of your players or one of your characters is to go into the underworld and capture a live cockatrice and take it back to the city without getting petrified in the process, so that you can save your brother. Does anybody want to raise their hand to be the quest holder for this dangerous quest?
I can say why I think it shouldn't be me. And that's, I've got a way easier hook in to be on the adventure if it's not me. And
Okay.
so, because my character does know alchemy and other stuff also too. So knowing how to approach this would be a good reason to bring me, but not necessarily, I don't think it's necessary for me to be the quest holder.
All right.
I can take it if
You got it,
I'll let
Chris?
Dan
Go
wants
for it.
Awesome. So you guys are an adventuring guild, and right now you're delving to save Reese's brother. So
Pieces.
real quick, we talked about our characters. What are your characters? I mean, I think I know your pronouns, but so I wrote the pre-made characters in a generic way. Do they have what are their pronouns? What are their pronouns, so that I can say when I'm talking about them in character, I'm addressing them right?
That's a good question.
I would say Mare's pronouns are probably also they, them.
Got it.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the she, her.
Cool.
I'll go with he, him.
Rounded them out. Okay. So what you guys are an adventuring guild. There is a guild sheet in your resources. You can use it to jot down things as you need. But there are also things that we can just talk through. And there's two things I kind of want to get in my head. One is your guild name, and so I can kind of refer to you collectively. And two is your marching order. Any ideas about those things?
I do love the idea of us being Reese's Pieces.
All right. Okay, Reese's Pieces. And what is your marching order?
I'm in the middle.
Okay.
I'll go first.
I'll go last.
Okay. So any questions about your characters, the guild, the game, any of the things you see on your character sheet, any squiggles or numbers that you want to talk over briefly before? Because I think we can learn by doing, but any questions before we get doing?
Yeah. Is Reese's Pieces spelled REECE apostrophe S PIECES, as in the pieces that Reese owns, or is it written a different way? Because it 100% matters for this adventure.
My initial thought was that it would be spelled that way, but it could also be REECE apostrophe S PEECE apostrophe S, just to keep up with the spelling.
That's better.
Awesome. Any other questions?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
I will describe the first room. So, adventurers come down into the underworld, in a sort of an established way. Once they had managed to push back the tide that were coming out, there's a gate and there are guards. And when you come out, you pay 50% taxes. Any liquid gold, not treasure, not artifacts, but if you find the underworld is full of gold, that is one of the main reasons that people are kind of like doing this, right? And the guards are going to shake you down for the king's cut. So you pass through the door of horn and ivory, and you come down this twisting stair, and you come down into the first level of the underworld, which is the garden. The garden is inside the castle for the most part. And all the blocks of stone in the garden are made of green and covered in green moss. Kudzu and vines are growing on the ceiling and hanging down. And they're blowing in this invisible wind that touches them but does not, comfort your face. And there's a kind of an ambient sound of soft harp and vocals permeating this level of the dungeon. The dungeon, the underworld, for the most part, is unlit. Who is carrying the torch right now? Torch, lamp, candle. Who has a light source?
That's a great question.
So on your sheet, you should have some equipment. Most people are carrying, I think everybody is carrying some light source, and you will want to note what you have in your hand because it matters what you're holding and how you're holding it. So if you currently have, some weapons in your hand, you might want to swap those out for a light source, whoever decides to carry one.
I have a candle.
I also have a candle, and it's perfumed.
Ooh.
I think we can save the perfume for later.
Yeah. When we need that extra little bit of comfort.
Yeah. I'll have my candle out.
Okay.
I've got a torch that'll probably be better for us at the moment.
That is probably true. Do you want to hand me the torch, or do you want to carry the torch?
I'll hand you the torch.
All right.
Cool.
I take the torch.
Robin has a torch in her hand. Okay, so you come down, and by the light of Robin's torch, you come into a square room, and the room has this spiral staircase exiting in the middle of it like a column, and like I described, it's full of this greenery and moss, ambient sound. The room is 25 by 25 feet broad. And in the light of the torch, you can see that to your south, west, east, and north, there are closed doors. To the north, the door is a portcullis. And you hear like the sound of whispering coming from the portcullis. What do you guys want to do?
I want to listen to the whispers.
For sure.
Are you gonna get closer, or are you just gonna like kind of stock still and like listen?
I think stop still at first, since I'm not immediately in the front. I'm gonna stop and just listen a little bit more to the whispers.
Okay. It sounds like a female voice. She is talking to herself in a language called Tilwith. Tilwith is the language of elementals and spirits. You recognize what it is, but does anybody here speak that language?
Not I.
Would this be on my sheet, or would this be an ability?
It would be on the first page of your sheet, yes.
Okay, cool.
Not I.
Nope.
Okay. It is a language that you can identify but not understand then.
Okay.
I think, though, you might have a talent called Linguist, and if you spend... Oh, okay. Something I skipped over. My bad. By agreeing to do Reese's quest, everybody gains 3 XP. So you can spend one of those 3 XP, Tony, to use the Linguist skill to speak enough Twilwith to get through this encounter.
I don't have the Linguist. I have Alchemy,
You don't?
Beastmaster, Bookworm Council, High Chant, Leechcraft, and Lore Master. Oh, that's Lore Master.
Or Master. I used the wrong word.
There we go. That's fine. Yeah. I will spend one of those XP to have that. Yeah.
Cool.
Enough to get through this conversation, but no more.
Sure. Yeah, so based on your readings, where you've encountered the language in the past, it sounds like, it doesn't sound as if somebody is in their total right mind. They are muttering things that don't make sense and kind of like going in these circles as they're talking to themselves.
Okay. It sounds like they may not be they may just be distracted, but it sounds like they may be distressed a little bit also too.
That's concerning. Do we want to? I'm worried about going over there and like touching that.
About touching that?
Yeah, about just getting closer to the sound of the whispers might lead us to be in distress as well.
Oh,
Is she calling for help?
Does she seem like, we've got a sense that she's kind of like lost in her own mind. Is there a central topic or thing that keeps on coming up on repeat in the middle of this meandering self-conversation?
Sure. As you listen, it seems like she's lost something that she's looking for. She's not calling for help necessarily.
I relay that information.
Well,
I'm going to start to make my way over a little bit closer to the door. Tell me a little bit again. We've got the doorway that the whisper is coming from the other side of. We've got the kudzu and vines coming down around us. What else do we see in the room?
Sure. So the room's kind of central feature is the staircase in the center of the spiral staircase. There are exits on all of the four walls. The one to the north is a portcullis or like a gate, like a cell door maybe. The others are, wood and opaque.
Okay. I think I'm gonna gingerly make my way over towards there to see if I can see a little bit more what she's doing.
Sure.
Get a better sense of what she's doing.
So, beyond to the north, beyond the gate or the portcullis, there are these close, iron bars, and there is a cell, and in the cell is a giant who is entirely cramped, in this kind of like smaller room, a giant elf. She is light blue skinned. She is shimmering in your torchlight. She has long dark blue hair. Her eyes are mirrors. And she is almost, doesn't seem to notice you as you come closer, even though she is in the dark on the other side of this cell door. And she's like, I've lost them, and I can't remember what it is. I can't remember what I've lost until with.
Is this room 5 that I'm looking into?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. So the map that we've included is in character. You can use that to make decisions. You can say like, I'm going to go towards room 2. I'm going to go towards room 17. Like I can see that there's connections here. You can you can take that stuff in character.
Cool. I was just making sure that I was having that my orientation was correct within the space also too. Where did you last see him?
She like looks up and then the mirrors of her eyes kind of like reflecting your torchlight back. And she says, it was, where did I last see them? Where did I last see them? Where am I now?
Oh, you're down here with us.
Down here with us. not entirely comforting thought.
Why not?
Because I've lost something. I don't know what it is.
I think it's always most helpful if you kind of retrace your steps. Where were you before you were here?
I was with my mother, the moon.
Okay. Do you know where your mother is now?
Is that what I've lost? She muses to herself.
Okay, I'm gonna go check on something real quick. I'll be right back. As quick glance as I kind of walk away, is there an opening to the portcullis from this side, or is it not? Is it like locked?
I think there's a keyhole, but like the gate itself is like filling the entire space, so that it would not be possible to enter room 5.
Okay. She's lost her mom. She seems a little confused.
Maybe she's lost her mind.
Maybe. But I think she maybe has lost some other stuff also too. Just a lot of losing things, and I don't know where any of them are. But apparently her mom's also the moon. But I don't know that there's anything we can do for her right now.
I don't know enough about elves to suggest any help.
Same. Maybe we can come back here if we find something.
Well, yeah, like we got to come back this way either way, I figure.
Right.
I'm gonna go back over to her and I'm gonna give her some food. Be like, all right, sweetie. Well, we gotta go. We'll keep an eye out for your mom. What's her name?
She says, my mother, Ulis. And she accepts the food. What is the food that you're giving her? Like what are your rations?
Mine, it's a delicately baked little cake that's got multiple layers. It's kind of like a lasagna. And so we're not quite sure whether it's a sandwich or a soup or a salad, but it is one of those 3 things for sure. Its primary protein is mushrooms though. So it's a little cupcake mushroom lasagna. Wrapped up nice in some why can't I think of what you call the paper that you cook in, but that kind of paper. And I just give it over to
her. She accepts it, says that her mother's name is Ulis, and looks at the small lasagna cake with a bemused delight. What do you guys want to do?
Reese, do you know which way we're supposed to go?
I don't. It would have been wise to collect rumors before we left, but might as well head this way. I gestured towards room 2.
So we can get her as we head towards room 2. I'm trying to look through my skills to see if there's anything helpful. Like I know a lot of shit.
I mean, the cockatris. What do either of you know where they live? What they do?
So one thing that you do know is that the cockatris roosts in the garden level. But beyond that, you don't know exactly where.
Okay.
All right. Well, we just look around. Yeah, I think this is a great way to go. Yeah, and we'll head towards 2.
Yeah. It looks like the garden dead ends either way. Be it 2 or 3. Eventually. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we head towards 2.
Let's roll.
Okay. Let's look. You open the door into a grand ballroom. Hundreds of dozens, I should say, of expertly carved human-esque statues are clumped in groups around the room. They are immaculately detailed, seem to be caught in the middle of conversation, socializing, and dancing. In this room as well, well, first, let me just say, across from you, you see a closed door. There's a closed door to the north and to the south as well. In this room, rummaging around the foliage that is like fallen and drifted to the floor amongst these statues, there are weevils the size of chihuahuas. Do you guys know what a weevil looks like? One of those little like garden pests?
Yes, but I'm not familiar with a chihuahua. Can you describe one?
Well, they love Taco Bell. These weevils are huge, and they're like rooting around. There are 3 of them, and they're not grouped together. They're just like moving around, like snuffling through the fallen leaves. It would be practically impossible, short of some sort of genius idea that I haven't thought of, to go through the room without encountering the weevils, based on their like rooting around.
Okay.
What do you guys do?
Well, do we feel like squishing vermin already, or?
I mean, we can. I mean, it seems kind of a waste until we know what they do.
Right. They haven't hurt us yet. I don't see why we need to. If they come at us, then they do, but no need to jump into it.
Fair. Let's try to skirt the room,
Yeah.
cling along the edges.
Okay, you can try to make a group test to like just dash past them, if you'd like. Which door are you going to try and get to like dash towards?
I think checking up towards 6 is probably the best idea.
Yeah.
It's a short. We're not going
Agreed.
across the entire room then. So.
All right. Okay, so let's do a group test. So to do a group test, you guys have your playingcards.io open?
Yep.
Cool. So let's test pentacles, and to make a group test, we're going to test the best and the worst at pentacles, and we're going to try and get 2 successes. If I get 2 successes, the whole guild succeeds. If you only get 1, you partially succeed, and if you get less than that, total failure. To do a test, we're going to flip over a card from the Minor Arcana and add your pentacles. And you're going to look for a 14 or above.
Yeah, and for anybody who isn't necessarily following, because they can't see all the stuff we have in front of us. Basically, the 4 symbols on the minor deck of the tarot are basically the 4 stats in this game. Correct?
Right. So you have 4 attributes: swords, pentacles, cups, and wands. And the way that I think about them is you kind of have like prioritize maybe 4 classic fantasy classes. So you can think about them as like your stat of warrior, thief, lore master, and wizard. So when you're doing tasks that are related to that typical class, you would add that attribute to it. You can also, if you have a motif that would help you, so you have motifs like I don't remember exactly what your motifs are. You might have
Mushroom Maniac.
Mushroom Maniac. So if you have a motif that helps, you get a +3 to your draw.
Okay.
And so your target number is going to be 14. And if you have failed, you can risk a second pull and add that draw to your total. But if you fail, even with that additional card, your failure becomes a great failure, and things go from bad to worse.
Okay.
So who is the best at pentacles, and who is the highest stat, and who is the lowest stat?
I have a 3.
I have a 4.
I have
All right,
three.
I got a 4 and 3. All right. So with 2 3s, nobody's terrible at it. Just choose one of you guys to draw.
I can do it.
Cool. So Dan and Tony, flip over a card and add your.
Wait, that's the wrong. Wait, yeah, was that right one? Dang it! I always forget on this. You got to pull it away from the thing to.
Are we in the same room? I can't see your.
I saw somebody else flip things over. So
Yeah, I flipped over to 3 of swords.
That's awesome. For some reason it's not updating on my playing card instance.
Oh, then we did real good.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, did I say 3? I meant 30. I got a 30 of swords.
30.
All right, I am back. Okay, so
I got a king of swords and we got a 3 of swords.
Okay, so King of Swords is a success on the card. That is a 14. The face cards have values as well. So the king is a success. So we have 1 hit already. Mare, you have a 3 of swords.
Mm-hmm.
And your pentacles was 4?
4.
All right, so we have 7 right now. You need a 14 to succeed. Would you like to draw a second card and add it and risk a great failure?
I mean, without a doubt, I do.
Very good. Flip it. All right. Okay.
That's a 9. All right.
But with total, that is a success.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so it's 2 successes. So Reese's Pieces dash through the room. As you enter the room, the weevils like look up and like as insects, they like have wings. You're not sure if these guys are can fly because they're like just fluttering their wings, but not like flying, but they're like coming towards you in an extremely aggressive way. And you guys get to the north door, open it quickly, and everybody pile in and slam it, and you hear the weevils rooting around right outside the door. You find yourself in another room. All right.
So I'm going to draw attention to some stuff because I want people to see a little bit of the bone. So did you pick this, the number that you picked for our success? What was that derived from? Is that just like your mathy knowledge of how this all would come out?
Okay, so the king has a value of 14. So if you're looking for a target number 14, I know that
how did you pick the target number is my question.
Oh, the target number is set. In challenges like this, the target number is always going to be 14.
Okay. Cool.
It can change in combat. That's when you're going to think kind of harder about it.
Right.
And other cards will determine that. But as a kind of a flat, if I'm asking you to draw, you're going to try to hit a 14 because it's going to be hard. If it was less than that, I would just say use it.
And it's going to be the number we draw plus our whatever our stat is, which means that if you draw, there's always a chance you're going to succeed if you draw the king, right? Other than that, you're going to hope your stats bridge the gap, and you can always draw a second one, but that's where you actually are engaging in a risky form of behavior.
Correct.
Cool. And then you just flipped over 2 cards, right? Tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Absolutely. So, as the GM, I have 2 main resources that I'm going to like draw up before I run a game. I'm going to have my map and I'm going to have my meat grinder. My map tells me where you guys are going. I know what's in every room. My meat grinder is the dungeon itself kind of moving around. So every time you enter a new room, I flip a card and I see what happens in that room. So I don't know. Sometimes some things are fixed, right? Like I know that there are statues in that room all the time. Some things are, okay, well, today a weevil is in there rooting around. And that kind of like, it's, essentially an overloaded encounter dice. And it carries a lot of weight. It makes the dungeon feel, I think, alive and breathing. It introduces some randomness that is like, makes it interesting for me as well. Like I'm surprised, not just by your guys' antics, but because as, the dungeon kind of shifts and changes and has these competing dynamic elements, play opens up. There's tensions that kind of drive the game forward. So every time you enter a room, I flip a card to see what the random event is there. And, it can be monsters. It can be, there's things like time effects. Your torches are going to burn down. It can be traps going off. It can be friendly encounters. It can be treasure. All that stuff is kind of like bound up in the meat grinder.
And all that stuff's from the cards you pull from the Major Arcana, right?
That's right. So the GM uses the Major Arcana, the players use the Minor Arcana, and we have separate decks. So the logic of the game is kind of like it's divided that way to keep things neat.
No, that's
and now that we've spent those cards, we'll throw those in the discard deck, and we will reshuffle them. We'll reshuffle them at a couple of instances, but especially if we draw the Fool. The Fool changes the game and shuffles the decks.
Cool.
Okay, let's see what we have found as you went to the north. Cool. You find yourself in a cellar. Towering shelves packed with bloated barrels and rotting fruits are stacked here. The cellar, despite the fact that it is this it's a massive space, right? Just full of barrels and rotting fruit, racks of wine, all aged and dusty and rotten. There is a mess of multicolored fungi here that are growing, on the ceiling and, kind of like bursting out of these casks. And in the middle of the field of fungi, there is a brooch. The brooch is shaped like a leaf.
Awesome.
It is old and tarnished, but sparkles in your torchlight.
I'm immediately interested. This is one of the most gorgeous things I've ever seen, and I rush across the room towards those mushrooms, absolutely enthralled.
And so the brooch is in the mushrooms. All right, so when you say it's absolutely beautiful, it is
unclear to the audience or anybody else at that moment what I am talking about. And then I get up and I caress one of these mushrooms and probably brush that brooch to the side to get it out of the way. As I am completely engaged in this bright fungal mass, and just I want to know all there is to know about it.
As you caress the fungus, like a little puffball, it exhumes some spores, and Robin immediately gains a new quest. No longer does Robin necessarily care, although you might, right? But you're no longer compelled to follow the quest of the cockatrice. You now have the quest, plant these everywhere.
That's great. I slurp those spores up like a as I now I'm getting what am I marking down?
You will get if you plant these mushrooms in 10 other rooms, you will get 3 XP, Tony.
Cool. I just said about harvesting whatever it is I need to from these mushrooms to be able to do that. So I don't know if I'm taking cuttings. I don't know if I'm collecting, extruding spores. I don't know what I'm doing, but.
Do you have hermetic bottles in your pack?
I do have hermetic bottle in my pack.
All right. So that's where I would store these. Hermetic bottles let you kind of use the alchemical properties of things that you find.
Cool.
So however many hermetic bottles you have is how many mushrooms you can carry and replant, and you'll have to come back. You get more later.
I'm filling up all 3, baby.
I just turn and look at Reese and say,
"It is in her name."
As long as she's happy. I say, moving to examine the wine rack.
The wine racks on either side, they're stacked with old casks, sprouting with mushrooms and rotting wood and rotten fruit. The smell of it all, is a heady bouquet.
You mentioned a bottle, or is it just casks?
Sure. Yeah. There's like literally bottles of like dusty wine. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I pluck a bottle off the shelf and tuck it away in my pack for later.
Okay. As long as you have a space.
I do.
All right.
I'm gonna walk over and I'm gonna check out that brooch.
Sure. So the brooch. I mean, so when Robin knocked the brooch aside, did you knock it out of the mushroom field, or is it still?
Yeah, probably. I don't think there's any chance I wanted it obstructing my ability to engage with these mushrooms in the fullest form possible.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Just a moment. When you say the brooch is in the middle of the mushrooms, are the mushrooms in a ring?
No, they're kind of like, I mean, the fungus is the landlord really should do something about this room. This is not up to code.
Yeah, there should be signs pointing to best room in the Undercity. Come and see it. It's so beautiful.
It's only $2,000 a month.
I might move in here. So.
New quest idea.
So, Mayor, you're the brooch you're trying to look at is outside of the mushrooms, so you don't have to necessarily get close to them. It is tarnished. It is shaped like a leaf. There, you don't notice anything like unusual or magical, or it's not humming or floating or anything. It's just a brooch.
Okay. I'm gonna try and apply a little bit of a spit shine to it, and then, well, I'm wearing armor, so I can't really just pin it onto armor. I think I will go ahead and slip it in my pack.
Sure, if you have a space for it.
Let me take a look. Ooh, no, I do not. Never mind.
I mean, you just drop something. Come on. Eat a ration.
Yeah, all right, fine. I'll eat a ration.
You're not necessarily hungry, but you cram some just making up some space. And what is the ration that you are eating look like? What have you packed?
It is like it's a bowl of soup. It is a bowl of like just kind of herbs and celery and like very on paper nasty bland sounding soup, but is so flavorful.
Dan, I was totally ready for that to be a lasagna bit when you said soup.
I should have wasted opportunity.
So something I think we should have talked about probably earlier, and this is my fault. What are you guys' bonds with each other? How does Robin and Mare and Reese, what are your...
I was going to ask that question. So like there's a bunch of bonds already listed. Are those just what were already listed at default here?
I set those because I was, just for expediency. Yeah. So yeah, what are the ones that are listed on the sheet?
I've got Reese, Lil sibling, charge when they aid with swords.
Mm-hmm.
And Mare is ally, charge when you make them laugh. And then it says ink. In character.
In character.
Okay.
So yeah, ally is the default bond. So your bonds. Your bonds are going to allow you to heal when you camp. So the game moves from challenge to camp to challenge to camp. From crawl. You're right now in the crawl phase, right? And as you enter combat, you go to the challenge phase, and as you rest, you go to the camp phase, and when you go back to the city, you go to the city phase, and they kind of like move between each other, right? And when you are resting, you spend bonds to heal. So it's one of the things that you want to be thinking about as you are crawling is how to charge your bonds. So ally is a default. I think a lot of people have allies with each other. I don't know if necessarily how this triangle works. But when you are saying something in character and it makes people laugh, not because you're making a Monty Python joke, but when you're like actually talking in character and people are like laughing and have a good time, charge those bonds because you will use them later. Dan, do you want to go? What are your bonds with?
Both of them are listed as allies.
Cool. So when you're being funny and you see people laughing, check that little box.
Sweet.
What about you, Chris?
Mare is ally, and then Robin is big sibling. Basically charge whenever they aid with cups.
Cool. So does that make sense when you guys are doing a test of fate and you are flipping cards? And because you're big and they're small and they're smart and you're strong, if you help them with the thing that they're bad at, you just say like, hey, I'm going to help. You charge that bond.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. So you've eaten some soup. You have the brooch. You have some mushroom cuttings. You have a bottle of wine.
What else could you want from a dungeon?
Go home.
Yeah, we did it.
You don't need a brother. You've got us.
Maybe this wine will fix him. I don't know. I'm not an alchemist. Let's go check.
So we know
Good
we've got
game,
a bunch
everyone.
of. We also do know we've got a bunch of weevils right outside the store, right?
Right.
Can I take a little extra mushroom, and just open the door real quick, toss it out, see if I can distract the weevils?
Sure. The weevils are I don't know like how much emotional telegraphy that a weevil has, but they seem somewhat bemused by your mushroom assault. We can let your success earlier ride. You guys can run past the weevils, but you can't interact with the room just because the weevils are going to fluster your attempts to do that. If you're just running past them, we can let that success ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also am very interested in the weevil's behavior towards this mushroom, though, as somebody who seeks knowledge and is curious about animals also too. I do want to know about how these weevils behave with this mushroom.
They are sniffing it, and they begin to eat it.
Okay. Do they fight each other over it, or just?
You only threw out one, so like the nearest weevil, like
Just chomps down on
like
it?
chomping it.
Cool. All right. Great.
Okay. I'll clank my way over to room 8.
All right. Heading towards room 8.
Full plate shuffle.
Love that dance. Okay. You come into a trophy den. There is wooden furniture and decorations here. On the south wall, there is a fireplace. Furs of crimson red lay across the floor. Scaled cloths hang from ceiling to floor. Hanging from the ceiling is a draconic skull. And in the middle of this room, there is a large pumpkin, reminiscent of an ugly, veiny eye. Its vines snake all over the floor here. As you enter the room, the weevils are on your tail, but you notice that the pumpkin eye seems to squint or turn away from your light as you immediately open the door. So faced with this room in front of you and the weevils behind, what do you do?
I mean, we're going in the room.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
sure.
shut the door behind you. And as you do so, the vines animate, and like anacondas writhe across the floor of the room and twist themselves around Robin. Robin, make a test of swords to avoid the wriggling vines.
Oh no, it's coming after me because I got buns, hon.
Okay, so a 3 on the card.
And then I have a 1.
So a failure on your first roll. Are you going to push?
Yeah. How does help work?
So if somebody was going to help you, they say, I help. They describe what happens or how they do it, and they are bound to the result of the roll as well.
Okay. Does it change how the pools work, or does it just mean I'm adding their number to stuff?
It will give you a flat +3.
I'll give you a flat +3. I
Okay.
don't know if anybody with good swords wants to help.
I'll try and help. Taking my shield, try to shove her out of the way.
Okay. Are you? So let me get some clarity there. Are you going to use that talent where you are using your shield to negate any effect, or are you? Is that just a description of how you're helping?
It was just a description of how I was helping.
Okay. Because you are being helped by your big sibling, you can go ahead and charge that bond, Tony.
Yep.
Get a +3. So what's your total right now?
That makes my total 3 + 1 + 3 for 7, which is halfway there, which does make me feel way better. And then the Queen of Swords would be a 13.
Woo. Nice. Yep. Exactly. Okay. With your big siblings, adopted siblings help, you are pulled out of the vine. The vines are still active. They're just not actively choking you.
Okay.
What do you do?
Whew, that was close. It does not like the light, right?
And that seems like what it's going towards. It's like trying to snuff out your torch.
Yeah. Is any part of it particularly drier than any other part?
No. The vines being active, are living plant material.
It doesn't got a weird little stump on top of its head or anything else like that?
It does have like a little stump on top of its head, sure.
Do I want to aim for the stump is the real question. I am going to I'm gonna rush it and try to light the stump on fire.
Okay.
Nice.
So let's make that another test of swords. I'm going to let your success ride to get away from the vines, but to actually like actively get close to it and hurt it, that's probably another attack.
Sure. Because I'm really good at those, so that's good. And then once bonds are charged, what does that do? Just out of curiosity, because now I got a charged bond.
They stay charged until the camp phase.
Okay.
When you spend them as a resource.
As a resource, excellent, cool. All right, so we've got 5 total right now, so that's a 4 plus a +1 is 5. If I don't push, what happens?
You have established that you essentially can't attack the. We're also going to let your failure ride, so you can't get close enough to the pumpkin eye to blind it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think in this situation, I don't think I'm going to push it again. I think we watch Robin try to like dart in a little closer, and vines just kind of creep up in front of them, and then Robin goes, steps back and goes, "That's not going to work."
Okay, the vines are too nasty. Those are nasty vines. They're too nasty to approach the pumpkin. So the pumpkin is thwarting you in this room. But kind of like the weevils, you're avoiding it, and it's throwing its vines around. What do you do?
I think Mayor's going to take out their axe and heave ho at those vines.
Okay, so thinking through this, when one character fails, that essentially establishes the fiction of like, this thing is not possible in this manner. You can try and approach it another way, maybe in the future if you have like different tools and resources, but essentially the vines are evenly matched with your party.
Okay. All right.
Oh,
that's
so
fair.
one of us dictates the narrative reality for all of us.
Well, I think the narrative reality is like you guys gave it your best shot with that initial attack, and that is we're no repeated retries. You know, you're not going to sit there and if everyone tries to pick the lock, we get into this like weird state where like everyone's just kind of round robining.
I just I feel like, I mean, it's your game also too, but also this is great because I do feel like this is some of the reality of play here. Like I feel like I was trying to rush into the middle and then we found the vines were too thick, and now Mayor is trying to cut down the vines that were too thick, and we're keeping us from getting any closer. Does that make sense, or is that still the same?
I think the gimmick is essentially like the pumpkin is too tough to fight head on.
Okay.
Okay.
So I potentially should have instead pushed for, this is actually not me trying to attack it. This is me trying to distract it by lighting its hair on fire. And that would that would have been a different type of gambit and would have changed the flow of things potentially.
Different type of gambit, and you would have collaborated then, gotten the helper bonus, the +3.
Right. No, like I said, no, totally fine. I just want to make sure that that we're all understanding it. I like it. I just wanted to double check.
Yeah. Good to talk out.
And so we've got a draconic skull. We've got lush carpets. We've got a fireplace. Correct?
Got a fireplace on the south wall. And yeah, vines everywhere, hassling you.
What if we lit a fire in the fireplace?
Yeah, is there any fuel in the fireplace? Or just ash and
There
Ash and sorrow.
Let's see. There's no fuel in the fireplace. There is to say no cut logs, but there is wooden furniture in this room.
yeah.
Destruction time.
Get it?
Absolutely start just like kicking apart chairs and all the furniture that I can to make some fuel for that fire.
All right. Within a few moments, I'm going to draw again on the meat grinder to represent a little time passing. Your torch does burn down. Who has the torch right now?
I do.
It's Robin, right?
Okay. Just for does how many clicks does a torch have, or does everything have 4?
A torch has 3.
A torch has 3. So we're gonna start with the 1 clicked in, and then we're gonna click down 1 more. And what did you draw that represented that? Because I didn't have that screen up at the time.
I just am on my meat grinder table. I'm flipping over major arcana cards, and they all mean something on my meat grinder.
Yeah. Oh, and the meat grinder is more like a reference, so it depends from experience to experience what's on there. Cool. Love
Correct. It's part of they're tied to the dungeon level. So the gardens have vine monsters. And when they are used, they don't come back again until you go to the city. When you go to the city, the meat grinder refreshes, new stuff goes on there, and it kind of keeps play interesting. Okay, so your torch flickers, goes down a little bit, but luckily you have kicked apart the furniture and started a pretty good fire. So I think the fire is in the fireplace is what I would call a new situation that lets you kind of like get a retry or like approach the pumpkin situation in a new way, allowing for a retry.
Cool. So
Shall we smash the pumpkin?
So now Mare can axe at the pumpkin if they want to.
Right. Probably because you guys are like using the fire in some way to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I even think I like the idea conceptually of like, go light the fire. It looks the other way. We've got the torch in a different part of the room. We're making it hard for it to look around.
Okay.
Just distracting it, making it hard for us to see us.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. With the distraction and with the the added like just like the light, and it's like very sensitive light, I think you're gonna get a +3 bonus to this attempt, Mirror, and
Nice.
go ahead and make a test of swords.
All right.
Nice.
That is the Queen of Cups. with the +3 and the +3 that I get for swords, that is quite a bit.
All right. Well, tell me what that looks like. What does it look like when you like end the pumpkin? You get past its vines. What does it look like? How do you do it?
I haul back with my axe and just bury it deep into that pumpkin flesh, and take the axe out, do it again at a different angle, and do that a few times until I leave a jack-o'-lantern smiley face in the pumpkin. And I turn around, look at the other two, and say,
You know what they say? The mayor, the morier.
Very gross, very cool. The jack-o'-lantern smiles at you in a macabre way. Orange juice everywhere. The vines twitch, go lifeless, removing the pumpkin threat from the room. Yes. You are faced with a jack-o'-lantern, a hanging dragon skull, smashed up furniture. The room is crackling. Excuse me. Crackling fire, providing some warmth and light here. Rugs and tapestries on the wall depict hunts. What will you do?
Go ahead. Somebody was about to talk.
Being somewhat of an avid hunter myself, looking at the tapestries, is there any sort of known legend or myth being told?
No, I mean, frankly, if I was you and you're an avid hunter, this is some boring hunting scenes. You know, this is
the salting of the deer licks.
yeah, these are hyper generic. You know, Fantasy Walmart has the default frames, right?
Gotcha.
It's like live, laugh, love of hunting.
Totally.
I'm gonna gather up some of the pumpkin, and I'm going to we're gonna cook a little bit of it. We're gonna cook a little pumpkin on this roaring fire that we've just made.
Okay.
Roast those seeds.
Yes.
Roast some seeds.
Yeah.
Little salt, little garlic.
Okay.
Saute up some of the flesh because I'm sure it's delicious. We got these nice thick slices.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, while everybody's eating, I'm going to plant a mushroom in the corner.
Cool. Okay, so you spread one of your vials of spore. You know, the little bit of mushroom cutting that you had, like falls out, and the spores like drift up out of it. And like you know, kind of recolor the corner. But I think you're very proud of how the pumpkin has turned out. It's roasted. There's a fairly like meaty and like maybe that's a turn off or turn on to you. I don't want to like dictate.
I
but
sniff
like...
it and I go, ooh, mommy.
But you have a slab of roast pumpkin. You can take it with you. It will, probably not like it's not well preserved. It will probably eventually go rotten, but or you can eat it right now just as a snack.
I'm gonna hold on to this roast pumpkin for a beat.
Okay.
We'll see what comes of it.
Just put it in one of your pack slots.
Every room a new meal.
Well, if we're doing our jobs right. What were our exits here?
Sure. The fireplace to the south is full of a roaring fire. To the east, you see a closed door. To the north, you see a closed door.
So we rushed over to 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And we came in the door to the north. So if we go to 13 and then loop up and around, we can go back to 8. Is what I believe. Looking at them. Oh no, we can only go up to 12. We can't cut through that. But I think if we go down to 11 is the way to go. Oh, wait,
Agreed.
no. Are we in 11?
We're
in 8.
We're in 8.
But you said the fireplace was to the south, right?
Correct.
Oh, man. we put out the fire because you always do that because you want to take good care of the dungeon because only you can prevent dungeon fires.
Wait,
So,
we're underground. Where does that chimney go?
well, I don't know. Let's put out the fire and find out.
Okay, you separate the fire, pull it apart, with your weapons at a distance. It is mostly out. The chimney is just ash and like some coals.
And so we poke the back and it's just there's nothing there.
You poke the back and the back of the chimney is on a turn, kind of like a central pivot, and it pivots, allowing some passage.
All right. Is it full size? Is it easy to travel through?
No, it's a squeeze, but human-sized characters can go through.
Cool. I'm not human sized, so I'm
shove my way in.
You guys gonna explore to the south?
Yeah.
I'll shove my way in.
Okay. I think is this an organic place to take a 5-minute?
It feels like it. Yeah, I almost thought we might just call it when I was like, I'm going to cook something, and I should have just said it then. But 5-minute break sounds good. We are in the middle of playing His Majesty the Worm. We are actually using the Sun King's Palace, which is by John Battle. If you haven't ever checked it out, as the map, the dungeon, but the meat grinder is provided by, of course, His Majesty the Worm and Josh's own fiendish brain. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back in just a few moments. We'll be back in just 1 second. In the meantime, if you have not yet, go head over and check out Weird Dungeon, a weird-inspired set of randomized dungeons. If you like the game we're playing today, but are looking for something with a D6 rules light system where things are randomly and procedurally generated as you explore a 20-level dungeon, go check out the work that Happy Jack Games is doing. Did Dan hack the giant pumpkin into a jack-o'-lantern, which just happens to be the logo of Happy Jack Games as a coincidence? Yes, because I don't think Dan knew that, and none of us knew that a pumpkin was going to be in this dungeon when we started playing, except for maybe Josh. So that's just a happy coincidence. That was not clever product placement. But in the meantime, if you want some clever product placement or just some product placement, go check out Happy Jack Games. Weird Dungeons over at ttrpg.link/Weird Dungeon Game. We'll be right back. We are live again here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel, playing His Majesty The Worm by Josh. Josh, if people want to find out more about His Majesty The Worm, they can go to HisMajestyTheWorm.Games to find out more about that. Anything exciting you have on the horizon? Anything you'd love people to check out after they go there?
Well, if you sign up for my mailing list, HisMajestyTheWorm.Games, links to the itch, my itch page. Several of the appendices. I itch funded this game. I'm not doing traditional crowdfunding. I itch funded this, so I put out appendices, and they're mostly pay what you will. I did it, fairly slowly over the year 2022. It is coming out this year. Very excited about that. And if you would like to be pinged when you can physically buy it, sign up for my mailing list. I will ping you very, very just that once.
Maybe twice if you don't buy it the first time.
I mean, my point is, it is just to let you know that the content is ready for you.
Awesome. Cool. So I'd encourage everybody to go check it out if they have not had a chance yet. But with that said, we just finished cooking up some pumpkin, putting out a fire, and crawling through the chimney like you do. You want to take us back into the game, Josh?
Absolutely. Okay.
You can take a drink first if you want to. I saw that.
As you push your way through the twisting door in the chimney, you come out into a kind of a smaller chamber, 15 by 15 feet broad. It's covered in ash, and the east wall is totally, stacked with burned chairs. There is a giant knight leaning up against the west wall. He has a huge sword. His armor is still beautiful, despite the fact that he looks like he's been here a long time. And it's like this chased steel with like Damascus steel like filigree on it that has those like wavy lines, and there's motifs of a sun eclipsing the moon at his lapels on his pauldrons. He has his helmet off, which lays on the ground next to him. His sword has wings on it. He looks up as you step into the room. And he sighs and says, small folk. Well, you have nothing to worry from Leonard. Also, as you enter the room, your torch does flicker again.
Aww.
So it has one more flicker left. What do you do?
Who is Leonard?
That is me.
Well met, Leonard.
Hmm.
I am Reese.
So
Hail, Reese.
it looks like burning the furniture was a pretty common move in that with that creature, huh?
Did you say that in did you say that in character?
When I talk in a high pitched voice with a slightly southern drawl, that's in character, yeah.
Okay. He sighs but doesn't answer you directly.
I'm pretty sure it was. I say authoritatively to my party mates.
Do you know anything of cockatris, Leonard?
Don't mess with them. Not something you should try. Give up now.
Fair enough.
Oh,
Which way might they be so that we avoid them?
He has like this like cryptic or kind of like sarcastic, bitter laugh, and he says, they might have a nest in the greenhouse to the north. But you're doomed if you go up there.
All men are doomed at some point.
True enough, Reese. True enough.
There's a well, I wouldn't call her little. There's a girl who's looking for her mom. Her mom's name is, I say her mom's name that the player don't remember, but the character certainly does. Have you seen her anywhere?
Ulis, the queen. The moth knights are protecting her deeper in. Who knows where she is now?
But she's safe, you're saying?
Not if the king had something to say with it. Don't know.
Oh. It's kind of dark in here.
Carrying a light. I don't need it.
Well, I mean, I'm to each their own, but like, do you like it just standing here in the dark all the time?
I have long since stopped thinking that life is something that I should or shouldn't like.
I mean, that's a perspective.
Fair enough. Do you need anything? Are you good?
He shakes his head, as if to say no, nothing.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, I'm just gonna leave this over here by the chairs, and I go plant a mushroom over by the chairs.
Okay, the mushroom falls out and spores, like embers, are tossed up into the sky of this room.
I'll look at him and I go, I need you to leave it there whether you like it or not. And apparently that doesn't bother you.
He doesn't seem like he's about to get up and mess with what you're
I
doing.
just let him know.
Are you okay?
He has a sarcastic smile and shrugs.
That is not an answer.
He says, no. This castle has fallen. I led the hunt for the first Leviathan, and now the sun and moon are at war in the sky. I am bereft of lord and purpose. Being okay does not enter into it. But it is what it is.
Would you like to come with us?
Again, he shakes his head and says, "There's nothing more for me to do. I suggest you go and find whichever way of dying makes you happiest."
That is incredibly bleak.
Yeah, I mean, you can do what you want, like, but it just seems like standing here in a room in the dark, even with some really beautiful mushrooms in the corner, like, not really. I mean, even if you don't have anything to do, that does not mean that you should do nothing, I guess.
Instead of finding the death that makes us happy, why not find the life that makes you happy?
Perhaps when I was younger, but now I know how foolish that path is.
Oh, good Lord.
I mean, maybe it's not about the life that makes you happy. Maybe it's just about like this is weird. And again, not if this is what you like, that's fine. But like it seems like it's not that it's what you dislike, but that you just don't care. And if you don't care, that's fine. But you could like not care somewhere that's, I guess, generally more comfortable, pleasant, or involved than a empty room full of ash and a beautiful mushroom.
He looks around and says, "It seems a fitting place for Leonard." I will make some, just a brief commentary that the people that you encounter or that dwell, long term, in fact, adventurers even that go frequently to the underworld become, they become fucked up. The underworld is an unpleasant place. And when I said you don't want to go there purposefully without a good purpose, purposelessly, I don't know how to conjugate that. The underworld's fucked up, makes people into monsters.
Also, the way Bats wrote this dungeon, the Sun King's Palace, is like specifically sad and morose also too, which only doubles down on that.
I think it has a great Dark Souls feel. And the Dark Souls, there somebody will be like, "Bartholomew, forgive me," and somebody will write, make an 8-hour YouTube video about the deep lore of like that sentence that somebody did. And I kind of feel like that is, imbued in this dungeon. Is one of the reasons I like it so much. It has that feeling. But I think in character, like we can kind of understand that many of the people that dwell here too long are weird.
I will say Leonard standing in the Ashen Room is probably the weirdest one I have come across in any of these conversations. Because I've not been in the gardens yet. I've only been in other parts of the Sun King's Palace as a player. And so, all right. Like, I'm glad I could make your room a little bit more interesting. Mushroom should take care of itself. Maybe it'll take care of you also too. Who knows though? I guess we'll head to the room to the east.
So, to the east, it is behind the chairs.
Oh, good heavens. I start to move the chairs.
You move the chairs and you find a metal door.
Is it just a plain metal door?
It's just a plain metal door, yeah. It seems easy to open.
Okay. Then I open it.
Okay.
I turn back and look at Leonard and be like,
"See how easy that was?"
I don't. Maybe he didn't know that the chairs were there.
Are you sure you don't want to come with us? We have booze.
He sighs and shakes his head. Looking not even at you, just like over your shoulder, like his eyes are, seeing vistas in his mind that are absent to your eyes.
I think we should leave the door open in case he changes his mind.
Probably, but we should also write a note that says, in here's lost cause, Leonard. Just don't try.
You can if you have chalk.
Oh, please tell me I do.
If you don't have chalk, might I suggest that there's a room full of ash also too?
Oh, sure. You can use a little bit of water from your water skins. Make a pretty effective like base ink.
That is what I will do then, since I do not have chalk. But I will just write Lost Cause Leonard on the door, I guess.
Sure. On the other side of the door, as you like push it open, you like come out. I'll describe the room, but on the other side of the door has like this brick facade, making it hard to see from the other way. If you weren't exiting the room this way, it would be difficult to see the room coming into it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You pen that epithet of poor Leonard. Here. The next room, I will give you a description, and then I'm going to say that your torch is burning quite low. And we'll go out, within moments. Coming into a large circular room, the main feature of the room is this huge tree that is, taken over the room. The room probably had a different purpose once. You can kind of make out an old drinking bar, a stage, tables, and the tree has in its inexorable progress to its huge size, has pushed those to the side with its black roots. And the boughs of the tree are bent over the dome of the room. Empty jars are hanging off the boughs of the tree. There is a closed door to the south and a closed door to the north. There is a imp. He is 1 foot tall. He has devil horns. He looks like the black devil character in Disenchanted. If you saw that. He looks like a devil. He looks like, a cartoon devil. He's almost 2D. He has so few characteristics. And he's like pure black. And he is, like crouched, and like rubbing his hands together and licking his lips. And, that visage of him, as you're like penning, the epithet of Leonard and like taking in the room, is what you see as your torch is burning low. Does anybody else have a light source they want to light?
Yeah, I'll light a candle.
Okay.
As I see it burning low, how many ticks do we get on a candle?
2.
Okay. And like it goes dark for a second, and I go, "Are you hungry?" And then I light the candle.
The candle sheds a different quality of light, but still allows you to see, the imp and the huge black tree. And he says, "Oh, yes. Come in. Quite hungry. Although I think you have something that might help my father more."
Who's your papa?
It's the tree, if you can believe it. Oh, the phoenix has killed him, and he's grown into this tree. He's thirsty for blood, and oh, poor imp. Oh, poor imp. He has to keep it watered with blood, but adventurers, heroes, so tough, full of leather, full of sweet blood outside like lobsters, hard to kill. Won't you just bleed a little bit if I ask you nice?
Why? I mean, I got a spitball idea here. Here, you eat this, and I give him the roast pumpkin. Leonard in the next room doesn't really seem to care about his state of being, and so, I mean, here's the deal: we could bleed out for you, and that would solve your problem for a little bit. But I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of blood sausage or not at all. But you could kill an adventurer, and you'll get a little bit of blood out of him. You could milk a Leonard for a lot longer, though, if you know what I mean.
Yes, this is a devious plan by most wicked halfling. Wonderful. Love your evil spirit. Yeah, how can I destroy this Leonard?
Well, no, I mean, the point is you don't destroy him. You leave him alive.
Yeah.
Because if you destroy him, then you get a lot of blood all at once.
Oh, yeah, lots of blood. That's what I
but
want.
if you just let him be and take a little bit of blood at a time, then you get a lot more blood overall. You get 5, 6, 12 times as much blood as you would have gotten otherwise.
This is from the room you just came out of?
The one the door's open to right now that he's scritching up a note about.
Oh, yes, I see more.
Yes,
excuse me.
Leonard, you don't care if you live or die or what your circumstances are, correct? Just call back into the other room through the door.
Leonard, from the darkness says, My hands are old, arthritic, but wield the sword easy. If you would like to see who dies first, come at me.
No, that's not. I mean, no. The whole point was no one had to die, Leonard.
I move slower than I used to, but no one will bleed me.
Oh yeah, you might have to kill him.
This is a more difficult proposition than you led me to believe.
Well, why don't you give it a try first and see how it goes? He doesn't, Leonard, here's the deal. What if I could promise you that no one would bother you and you could just be totally unbothered and morose as long as you let this little dude come get some fresh blood every once in a while.
He says that anyone who wants to bleed him is welcome to try.
See, you're welcome to go ahead and try. He's happy to have you make the attempt.
The imp seems dejected and
I am actively trying to con this imp into going in there, by the way. Like that is my approach for this.
Okay. The imp seems dejected, based on the exchange. But why don't we test wands to see if he's gonna take the bait?
Okay. Pop over to wands. Okay, so if I have a, what are we calling them?
Motif.
If I have a motive that impacts something, how does that change what happens here?
So a motif, if one of your motifs could help you, in this test, you can take a +3.
Okay. I would like to argue that this is a cold. What is it? What is the actual motif? Hold on. That this is very much a business-minded black marketeer approach. I am offering to trade Leonard's blood to get the imp into that room.
Yeah, I think that a black-hearted marketeer, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Cool.
So get a +3 in addition to your wands.
All right. Got 2 wands, so that's so we got 6, 8 total right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna push my luck here because it feels fun. And that is a 9 +2 again.
You add them actually together, so
add them together and then add the bonuses. Okay, so we've got a 9, we've got a 3. That's going to get us 12 +3 +2 is 17 total.
There we go.
All right. The imp is licking his lips and doing some calculus in his head. And he makes a gesture like this to you, holding a finger up before his lips, and says, "I definitely won't do this." Then he pulls on his tail and he disappears from sight, as if a sequence of transparency comes over his body as he makes himself invisible, and then you hear the little flap of his feet sneaking away. And he you don't have eyes on him, but you can tell that he's left the room.
You may want to
Well.
go ahead and just close that door. Cool. So the imp has left the room, or snuck into the other room. Yeah, I mean, maybe if we just close the door.
Yep.
Yeah, close the door, and I'll drive an iron spike on this side. Keep it shut.
Smart.
Just in case Leonard gets mad.
I mean, I guess at the end of this, there'll be some blood one way or the other. All right. So he said his daddy was this tree?
Yes.
Start walking around the tree, I guess, with the candlelight.
Sure. So the tree is huge. It's taking up most of the room. It is black barked. It has red leaves. There are empty jars hanging from it. And yeah, the room has, the tree has kind of like pushed all the old stage furniture, bar kind of like against the walls, or broken them, or rolling over top of them so they're unusable.
While we're walking around, I'm going to go ahead and plant a mushroom in this room.
All right. 3/10 the way there.
Well, I don't know what to make of any of this.
I mean, it's just a big tree. Do we need to make anything of it?
Not particularly. Leonard said the cockatris were to the north in a greenhouse.
Yeah, this is not the north. I mean, we can head that way now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say we move northward.
12 to back into 8. I adjust the map in the dim light. Head towards 3. Does that track with y'all?
Yeah.
Very good.
I mean, there's a part of me that does want to feed this tree some blood, but I think it's probably not worth it right now.
Yeah, I think that would be a bad idea.
Yeah. Well, if it's it's hungry.
Yeah, we got the critters in 2.
If it needs blood to survive, probably would be a bad thing.
Well, but you need blood to survive.
I don't need to feast on blood to survive.
Well, I know you got a lot of blood inside you, if you know what I mean.
I don't. Please explain.
Well, and I start to go into detail on the extensive nature of the orc circulatory system as we move into the next room.
Okay. You come into, so you're in, the whole place is a garden, but this one is especially lush. Grass grows on the floor here. There's a stone path meandering through the room. There are pale white flowers and bright yellow flowers growing here. And importantly, that's the backdrop of the room. There's an obvious door on the west wall. The peaceful nature of this garden is interrupted by the clang of steel on steel, the press of bodies in mortal contest with each other. A tall guard in steel armor with gold trim, a sun motif, is fighting scarecrows. The scarecrows are stuffed with like black straw. Their old black rags that hang on their bodies is like just rags, torn. They have like large sun hats, like wizard hats, perched on top of their heads, and they're like literally stuck, to stakes or poles, and they're like moving in spite of that. The the knight's sword wheels through the air, cutting at them, pushing them back towards the west door. Seeing you come up from behind him, the guard says, "But ho! Join me in this battle, and we can push these wretched creatures back."
And the fact that it pumps the blood all the way around your body is why they call it the circulatory. Oh my goodness. Who are you fighting?
These foul creatures are befouling the sanctity of this place. I wield Argon against them. Come join the battle.
Yeah, without another word, I swing my flail and step forward to assist a fellow knight.
If you are drawing into combat, let's go ahead and have a brief primer on the challenge phase. Okay, so on your character sheets, let me pull one up so I'm not talking completely out of my ass. On your character sheets,
90%.
Sorry?
So 90% out of your ass.
Yeah, just 90. On one of the cheat sheets, you can see combat actions at the very top of the page. So the way that combat works is this. I'm going to draw a number of cards based on the combatants that I have. And you are going to draw 4 cards. At the beginning of every round, you're going to choose one of the cards you've drawn as your initiative. And the round will consist of me counting from 1 to king. And when I hit the card that you have as your initiative, which you're going to play face down, so nobody knows what it is until you go, or you're attacked. When I get to your number, say, hey, it's my turn. You're going to flip your card face up, and you're going to take an action. On your turn, you can make
I don't know that I've ever done whatever I just did before this point. I'm not exactly sure what I did, except for that it caused all of y'all to disappear and dropped me out of the call for a second, meaning we went black on the stream. Also, too, you were talking about initiative, counting up from 1 to king, and then I accidentally clicked a thing.
All right.
But we're right back in it right now because the stream didn't go down,
Cool.
Just the call.
Cool. Okay. So I'm going to count from 1 to king. When it's your turn, you're going to flip your card face up and say, hey, it's my turn. And on your turn, you play 1 card to represent, the value of your action. You can play any card you want, and you're going to add your attribute. So, in a very basic way, we're just going to count up, and you're going to take your turn. Lower numbers move faster. And you play a card and add your attribute, and that's the value of that action. That is, very basically how combat runs. Some interesting bits come in when after you have an action, I'm going to say, okay, does anybody have any minor actions? And then you can also spend cards to take actions not on your turn. If you're going to take a minor action on somebody else's turn, the suit of the card that you play as a minor action has to match the type of action you're doing. So in the combat actions, you can see the actions you have, and sword attack is a good example. So if you want to attack not on your turn, you have to spend a swords card, and you're not going to add anything to it. You're just going to be like, okay, I have a 5 of swords. I'm going to attack with a 5. Does that hit? And the target number that you're trying to hit is the monster's initiative. So the faster you go, the easier you are to hit. And I think that the best way to learn is to do a couple rounds And Chris has played before. He can help give advice. I will also help give advice. I'm not gonna try to like dick you over or anything. But once we all get good at the game, we've been playing, you've had 3 or 4 initiative combats under your belt. And like we kind of like all agree about the rules and we're not asking rules questions. It's a little bit like poker. You're gonna wanna like play your cards a little bit close to the chest because I'm gonna try to hit you more once I know that you know the rules. But at this time, just talk it out and we will go through it step by step, really slowly.
Cool.
Any questions to start?
Nope.
Yep.
I just gave you 4 cards. Let's who's gonna be player 1, 2, and 3? Tony, let's say you're player 1. Dan, let's make you player 2, and Chris, let's make you player 3. So if you click the number next to your cards, you can drag them out around as a stack, and you can draw them down into your hand so I can't see them, and you can see which cards you have. I'm going to do the same thing with the major arcana cards.
And on cards, we're really just looking at numbers, right?
And suit. Suit will matter in challenges.
Okay. How does the suit matter in challenges? Like we need to match it to the type of attack we're doing, or type of action we're doing.
When you're playing a card, when on your turn, it matters not at all.
Okay.
On other people's turns, for minor actions, when you're spending cards just to help out other people, or make kind of like side attacks, then it matters. So for your turn, the suit doesn't matter. If you're acting off your turn, the suit does matter.
Okay.
So one of the steps of combat is to define zones. This is a fairly small room. I think it's 30 by 30 feet, which is a good sized room. But there's only one zone. There's nothing like stopping you from moving here. There's only one zone and you're already in the zone and you don't have to move. All the combatants that you can see are currently in your zone, so you won't have to move to engage them. Movement typically would be a card to put down and you just move to another zone. But you won't have to do that in this combat.
Cool.
I don't think there's any special rules or anything that you need to be aware of in this combat. Do you have any questions about the space before we start playing cards?
We've got a knight fighting some weird sun people.
Scarecrows.
Scarecrows that have the actual stakes supporting them coming out of their body. So they're not. Is that correct? All right, cool.
Correct.
Oh, I saw everything.
Okay. Got it. Put this back. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is play a card for initiative. So when you drag them out of your hand, you put them back into your slot. Let me go ahead and number these, label these so we remember who's who. So who did I say player 1 was? Was that Tony?
That's me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Robin and Mare's player 2. Then Reese. And all right, so the first thing you're gonna do is play your initiative card. When you drag it out of your hand and into your card holder, it'll be face down, so I won't see it. And just remember what that is. And if you can't remember, or you want to check it before it comes up, just drag it back into your hand so you can see it. And remember, I'm going to start at 1 and go to king, so lower numbers are going to act first, but you will be easier to hit. And I just drag a card out and put it in my GM holder at the top. And that is going to be the initiative of my scarecrows. Cool. Okay, so we've all played our initiative, so I'm going to count up from 1 to king. So step 1, 2, 3. Just yell if I hit your number, right? 4, 5, 6, 7.
I believe I played a 7.
All right. Flip over your card. Cool. Indeed. Okay, so on your turn, you can do any action you want, and play a card from your hand, and that'll be the value plus the associated attribute. So what do you want to do, Mayor?
So I'd like to roughhouse.
Okay. How do you want? So like a roughhouse is like, a gambit, or a combat maneuver. You're trying to trip or disarm or knock back another character. So how are you trying to roughhouse these 3 scarecrows?
I'm definitely trying to knock them over. So I'm going for the legs and the poles.
Okay.
To try and are they like actively in the ground, or are they like
No, they're
hopping
hopping
around on? Okay.
Yeah,
Then definitely going for the bottom of the poles that they're on and trying to knock them out from under them.
Awesome. Scarecrows. I'm making some my notes so I can tell. Let's go. Okay. So play a card, and you're gonna have to beat their initiative plus your pentacle score.
Okay. And when you say beat it, it's get higher than?
Or equal to or higher than.
Equal to or higher. Okay.
Yeah.
And
so
just for edification, if so one of the cards in my hand is the Fool. So how does that factor into combat?
Okay. Yeah. There are 57 cards in my Arcana deck, and the Fool has special rules in combat, and of course you got it as
Of course.
player in combat because that's how
it works.
Okay. So to explain the rules of the Fool, I'm sorry that you had your first initiative turn had a funny rule in it, but the way the Fool works is it gives you a second turn in the combat round. So how I was describing, there's kind of a difference between a normal turn and a minor action.
Mm-hmm.
The Fool turns your minor action into a normal turn. So it makes you, so you add your combat or add your attribute to the total value, and you can play any card a second time. And importantly, the Fool allows you to interrupt somebody else. So if somebody else is trying to do something, usually like, a skeleton's like, I punch Tony in the face. And you're like, no, you don't, fool, skeleton. And you like play the Fool, and your card interrupts theirs, and you can try to kill the skeleton or block Tony or whatever, right? Okay. So it gives you a second turn that interrupts somebody else.
Okay, cool.
So you wouldn't play it on your turn, which is right now you're the first person in the initiative order, but you can interrupt somebody else's turn and be like, I'm also going to go this turn, and I'm going to go first, and I'm going to get to play any card.
Okay. Cool. So if I were to play the King of Wands.
Nice. All right. So, and you're also going to add your pentacles. So your pentacles is 4?
4.
So the king has the value of 14. So 14 plus 4 is 18 versus my initiative of 11. So you knock one of the skeletons down. The skeleton,
Scarecrow.
Scarecrow, thank you. I said skeleton earlier, and now it's in my head. The Scarecrow falls backwards on his pole and falls flat on his back. Attacks versus the prone skeleton have favor, which means they get +3. FYI. All right, so that was Mayor's turn. Go ahead and discard the card that you just played. And now it's time for minor actions. Any minor actions, Robin or Reese?
I believe so. Remind me of the zones.
You're all in the same zone. Right.
Very good. And how many were there?
There are 3 scarecrows.
3. Okay. If I set up an assist, but it hasn't triggered before my attack.
Sure. So, you're gonna play the same suit as the action, and it is going to be one of your face down cards. So there's some actions that create face down cards. Usually these are defensive, but you can also do things like assist others. And you can only have one face down card at a time. And when you assist somebody and you're like, okay, when they make an attack, I'm going to distract them, or I'm going to attack at the same time. We're going to coordinate on this. You just play that face down, and when it comes up, just flip it face up. If your action happens beforehand, that's no worries.
Very good. Then I lower the visor on my helm, look to Robin, and with my head gesture at the closest Scarecrow fella.
Cool.
Looking to assist in attack.
Very good. Any other minor actions on turn 7?
No.
Okay.
You said you look at me because you're going to attack them, or as if you're expecting me to attack them?
I'm gesturing to you, and then the closest skeleton man, Scarecrow.
Got you doing it.
Suggesting that I will help you in attacking it. Flail.
Cool.
Get it?
I think my minor action is that I just immediately step back behind you as
Cool.
you say that.
Okay, I'm going to continue counting. That was step 7. Step 8.
That's me.
All right. Robin, what do you want to do on your turn?
I think well, let's see. What do I want to do? Let's do something a little bit more decisive. I step behind you. It's hilarious. I then want to, and I may, this could be pinnacles. This could be chalices, depending on how we want to do it. I'm going to just drink in a little bit of, hold on. What did I have? I'm pretty sure I had a thing. A little bit of fancy booze, and then blow it out across my candle, like step around and blow it out across my candle at these scarecrows is what I want to do. And I don't know if that is cups or pinnacles, because I don't know if this is dirty fighting or something up my sleeve, or this is more in the world of alchemy and intellect of these things are probably weak against fire. Or not.
That's cool. I love it. So the only caveat to that, okay, so what I would say is
I keep playing Josh's game wrong.
no, not at all.
I'm just
I don't
messing with
think
you.
so. The thing that is kind of important for the combat flow is to make sure you have that item in your hand. So is it right now in your pack?
It's in my belt.
It's in your belt? Awesome. Okay. So if it's on your belt, you can spend any card to get it off your belt and swap it with what you have in your hand.
Okay.
So when you had a minor action on step 7, let's say you did that. So discard any card to have done that, right? This is the learning part that I'm talking about, right?
For sure.
Now it's in your hand. Now it almost doesn't matter what the suit is, but let's call it a cups, because I think you're going to be good at it, and it's cups, and I think it's a cool idea. And that matters only because you're going to add your cups attribute on your turn. So now you play another card for the action value and add your cups for the total.
Okay. And my goal is to beat what your character's initiative number is,
Right,
correct?
which is 11. Yep.
Okay, cool. Boop, 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 boop.
Nice. Okay. You blow it through your candle, it erupts into a fireball. One of the scarecrows, this will also trigger Chris's action, right?
Oh, yes. Which, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So with a page plus a page, the scarecrow,
It's a critical page.
a critical. The scarecrow could not can't bounce back fast enough, and it erupts into flames as you spit the fancy booze into its face. It hops half a dozen steps before it like falls over, its rags and straw consumed in a black smoke, and it stops moving. So at the after your turn, there is one prone on the ground, there is one destroyed, smoldering, and one still hopping around. Minor actions on step 8. And remember, Dan, you can use your Fool card at any time.
Yes.
All right. If there's no minor actions, I'm going to keep counting. 9.
Hello.
Hello.
Keeping the momentum in the spiked ball on a chain, I call a flail. I turn to the one that isn't prone or dead and introduce it to said spiked ball.
Very cool.
There.
Okay. So you paid a lot of pages in the group today. You didn't have to spend swords, but it is
Correct.
Cool that you did. And what's the total? So 11 plus
15 total.
Awesome. All right, that beats my initiative. What does it look like when you slice into the Scarecrow? You have defeated it.
Remembering how the poorly made training dummies were during my squirehood, I set to hit it in the exact same spot, straw coming out of the tattered and torn clothing. A cloud that would make any person allergic weep.
Very cool. Your the head of your flail goes the motor memory of those days at the training yard kicks back in. Your flail head goes sailing right into where you sent it. There is the sound of kind of like a disappointingly soft sound coming out of the Scarecrow. The thing knocks back, falls, clatters, stops moving. There's only one on the ground right now. In fact, I think I'm going to spend a minor action to also on your action rather in step 9. I'm going to make him get up.
Does the GM draw as many cards as we do, or they have a different suite of cards?
Good question. There's some nuance here that I can get into, and I'm happy to talk about, but just in the interest of time, I'll just kind of give you a light answer. They draw more cards the more monsters they have and the more dangerous.
Cool.
So
That's great.
as they have scrub monsters, they draw 3 cards, and as they have dragons, they draw 10 cards.
Okay.
Minor actions on step 9. Okay. So there's one Scarecrow left, and he has just stood up. I'm the last person to act with an initiative of 11. The Scarecrow, on his pole, taps pogoing through the garden and goes towards Mare, who knocked him down, attacking with a 14.
Yeah, that'll beat my 7.
So one thing you could do, because you have the Fool, is you could interrupt him with a dodge and send that card before he attacks, which is in the purview of the Fool.
Then that is what I will do.
Awesome. So put down the Fool to say that you're interrupting, and then put down your card and see if you can get your dodge value above his 14.
Oh no, that's gonna be very difficult to do, because this remaining card is a 2.
How would this fully play out? Because I have an ability that allows me to do certain things during other people's turns. Does he have one card's ability to beat 14 plus whatever his stat would be, which I guess in this case, if it's dodge, is probably Pinnacle.
So dodge is a Pinnacle's action. And when you play a dodge, you normally put it down face down, and it was okay, I'm gonna dodge, and it raises your initiative plus the value of your dodge. And some of the fun there is because your dodge is face down, and sometimes your initiative is face down. When people are flipping over cards, you don't know if you're gonna hit or not. The the element of the fool allows you to like do it as an interrupt. Like, okay, I don't need to play this face down first. I'm just going to do it right now. So my suggestion was a bad one because I didn't know that your other card was a 2.
Yeah, I realized when you were describing everything, it's like, oh yeah, no, I'm not going to really be able to do much with this fool because I just have this 2. But
Gotcha.
you know,
And I think the other important question would be, what happens at the end of the round of initiative? Do we discard the cards?
You discard any card that you haven't played face down.
Okay.
Um,
So the fool in this situation would be use it or lose it. My ability can't get you high enough up to beat a 14.
That's
so
fine.
It's not worth using at this point in time.
Okay. So despite your dodge, your quick dodge, the Scarecrow, like, you know, he's still on his stake, but he's like reaching out. He grabs at you with these surprisingly, like shockingly strong hands and throttles you. So you're going to take a wound. So when you take a wound, you can put it in a couple different places. So several things on your character sheet can be wounded. One thing that can be wounded are conditions. There's a condition called staggered that is often what people wound first because it comes back the easiest. You don't have to spend anything. It just during the camp phase, it just your staggered condition is healed. You can also wound your armor if you'd prefer to do that. I know that orcs have a talent that when you wound that talent, you know, it has a special effect. I don't remember which one Mare has, but all orcs have a talent that work kind of like that. And you can also wound one of your other talents that you have mastered to represent, you know, the like physically, like I can't do I'm not quick anymore because they got my leg, right? So do you have a sense of what you would like to wound first?
Yeah.
Questions?
I think I want to use that storm-blooded orc talent.
Oh, cool.
And wound that and become shrouded.
Awesome. So what everybody sees as the Scarecrow throttles Mare is Mare, just like the imp earlier, like becomes transparent, and the Scarecrow like turns on his like pillar and looks from left to right. Mare has disappeared. Mare, you're going to continue to be invisible or shrouded in the game's terminology until the end of your next turn. So right now, Mare is invisible.
Perfect.
Minor actions on step 11. All right. I am going to, because the fool is played, we're going to shuffle our decks. We don't have any face down cards to worry about, so I'm just going to click the recall shuffle button. And it'll do that auto magically.
Did you want any cards still in our hand before that?
Yeah, please put your cards in your hand back on the thing. Go. All right. Gonna do you guys 4 more cards. I will do myself some. Make sure I have a legal move. Yeah, cool. I don't think those shuffled well. I have to check the shuffle logic on this.
Good old shuffle logic.
I might have set the decks up stupid. Okay. When you are ready, play an initiative card. Cool. All right. One Scarecrow engulfed in flames, one Scarecrow bashed, the last Scarecrow reaching his hands out towards your orcish companion who has, disappeared. The knight is still battle ready and is cheering at you.
Yeah, not helping much though. That's I'm just going to point it out. I'm just going to point it out.
All right. Any questions before we get started on this round?
No.
Step 1.
Except for that I yell, don't let him do that to you, to Mayor, which I'm using my council ability.
Cool.
Which allows me to, do I need to expend an XP to do that? Or is that a?
Yes. If it's not mastered.
Cool. So I am able to pass Mayor a card, actually, which I guess I'll put up here rather than on your deck. Hopefully that was the right one. If it's not the one you put down for initiative, it's the right one.
No, that's the right one.
Okay. And then I'll go over to my sheet and spend that XP.
Awesome. So the council ability, you hand somebody else a card, and as long as they use it to do the thing you said, you get that card. It's a great way to, when allies are in a different position than you, fighting different monsters or in a different part of the room, it's a great way to buff those guys up. So
it does. It actually does have that X'd and then says mastered on my character sheet. Is that
okay?
correct?
Then cool. Then you don't have to spend an XP.
Right. I'm just really good at telling people what to do.
All right.
Just to be clear, your direction to me was don't let him
do that to you. Yeah.
Great.
Cool. All right. That was step 1. Step 2, 3.
Hey, I'm on 3.
All right. What's your turn?
So I'm gonna not let him do that to me, and I'm just gonna just straight out attack him.
Awesome. So play your card. You will add your swords. You will add +3 for being invisible and attacking a character that cannot see you.
All right. So that's going to be 10 plus my swords of 3 plus. So that's going to be a 16.
Where'd you get that cool card?
Oh, I don't know where I got that cool card from some good inspiration, I want to say.
Okay.
Bossy pants.
His initiative during this round is 4. So describe what it looks like when you defeat the Scarecrow.
I turn to Robin and I go,
Okay.
and with my axe just go right through his midsection.
Very cool.
And chop him and the pole clean in half. And then I turn to everyone, including the knight who asked us to help and then didn't do anything, and again say,
You know what they say, the more the merrier.
Huzzah! Aiel says, the knight. He salutes you with his blue sword, and says, you dealt with them excellently.
Yeah, and now we just have to talk about the bill for our services.
No, true hero, I know.
Yeah, true hero honors his debts. That's what I know.
Also, I
Wonderful.
feel like I should explain. My name is Mayor, which is why I shouted that at the end. It might
Now
not
I
be-
get it.
Yeah. What is your name, sir?
My name is Aiel.
Aiel. Nice to meet you.
Well met.
Yeah, I mean, do you want me to write you out a receipt, or do you just want to pay right now?
I must say I have little in way of material goods.
Oh,
But
so you're not
I-
willing to honor your debts? I understand. That's fine. Some people are like
hold
that.
on.
Let him finish.
Oh, okay.
I might owe you. I am happy to owe you a favor. You have done me a good turn. How might I assist you?
Oh, I mean, that's not how I usually deal. But I mean, I guess if the boys here are fine with it, we can take that too.
We are in need of assistance gathering these cockatris.
Cockatrice. I know them. To the north they are. In the greenhouses.
All right. Well, why don't you come with us and help us take care of that then?
Fair. You have assisted me in battle. I will assist you in battle.
Yeah, and I'll just be clear. You don't have to talk. You can just follow along quietly and make it easy on people who might have to make your voice be heard or things like that until you become important again.
Aha! You are a funny small woman. I am always important.
Sure.
Sure. He agrees, since you have helped him in combat, to follow you to help you in the next combat you encounter.
Well, that's not the deal we made, actually.
That is what he thinks it is.
All right.
Gonna get wasted on the bugs. Lame.
I would just be very clear with him as we go before we go into the next room. We're not looking to fight these bugs. We're gonna run across, go into one room. I'm gonna take care of a couple things, and we're gonna run across again and go to a different room.
Well, with
Make him fight
directions
Leonard.
like that, who would be confused?
Right. And if you fight them, it's not on our behest or to help us at all. That's a choice you make, and it does not complete your deal.
The better part of valor is discretion. I will draw my sword when you do.
Okay.
All right.
Huzzah!
That actually sounds like a really generous interpretation of what I just said, and I'm satisfied. So we I'm gonna try to gently open the door and see what the Weevils are up to, if they're still gathered around the door we went out earlier, or if they have resettled into the rest of the room.
It's possible your map skills have you've become slightly turned around because you open the door into a smoky smelling room.
Oh, we're back in this room. Okay, you're right. I did get it. I did get a little turned around.
Your candle flickers as you come into a room with cut vines, a jack-o'-lantern face, a hanging dragon skull. Yeah, that is what you see.
I got a little ahead of myself. The Weevils are in another room. This is not that room.
What will you do?
Robin, do you have room to carry another torch?
Yeah, I mean, that first one burnt down, and I could blow this. I could blow this candle out real quick. Do you have a torch?
Yeah, I reach in my back and pull out a unlit torch to hand to Robin.
I blow this candle out, and after I light the torch.
Okay.
So is the greenhouse that he has indicated, when people keep on saying north, have they pointed at all? Do we have a sense of that's 9 and 10, right? Or 10, correct?
It would be, yeah, towards,
because otherwise it would be west, not north.
Right.
Cool. Give me just 1 second real quick. I'm gonna leave everybody there, and I'm gonna run through the Weevils real quick.
Okay. Let me see.
I'll be right back.
Party.
I just got to check on something.
When you crack
Like the
open the
torch.
door towards the Weevils, you leave other people in the darkness. Are you willing to do that?
No, I'll hand him back the torch real quick, and I'll take the candle.
Okay. As you crack open the door with the statues and peer inside, you see okay. As you crack open the door, you see a deer. The deer has shouldn't be able to move, but it is. It is cleft into right down its head, through its chest, and like comes back together at its hindquarters. And it's walking around apparently unbothered or like by the physical impossibility of it, and it's bleeding like this black blood that is staining the things around it. You hear distantly also the sound of hunting horns as you open the door.
That's real interesting. I'm just headed over to 6 real quick.
Okay. As you go through the room, the door to the south bursts open as you get to the room, the storage room that you're headed towards. And elves come streaming into the room. The deer bounds towards the west, towards the room that you entered. And the elves begin to give it chase.
I just whisper, "Oh dear," under my breath, and then go clip some more mushrooms.
All right. In the riot of the elves and the hunting horns, you do manage to get back, having refilled your vials with mushrooms.
All right. All right, sorry about that. Actually, you know what? Before I'm going to go ahead and plant one in the room that the deer was in, since there are no weevils in here anymore. Also, too,
Okay, fair enough.
and then keep on going.
You rejoin the party. You have been gone for a while. Let me draw the. Let's see what's happening. Meat grinder.
I just had to check on something real quick. I appreciate your patience.
Of course.
Understood.
Okay, noted. You rejoin the party in the hunting trophy room. What will you do?
Good news is we don't have to worry about those weevils, I don't think.
Oh,
Yeah. They turned into a giant deer that was cut in half and bleeding ink everywhere.
Gross.
Yeah.
I hate this place.
You guys
Shall
ready
we
to go
travel
up?
northward?
Yeah.
You open the door to the north. Let's see. You come into a large L-shaped room. This room is particularly expansive. There is a white gazebo and topiary of a variety of different animals, lion, tiger, bear, oh my, kind of just sprawling in this section of the gardens. There is a pool of inky blackness that is dripping from the ceiling high above, kind of actively being filled by this like black ink staining. It was kind of like ferrofluid. It has this non-Euclidean liquid, property to it. And also in your torchlight, and you still have, did you switch the?
Yeah, I blew out the candle again and switched back to holding the torch.
In your torchlight, you see a cockatrice leading 6 tiny cockatrice chicks through the gardens here. The cockatrice is the size of a pony, perhaps. And it looks like it's walking backwards. It has a snake head tail that is looking around, and the chicken, a large cockerel body. And it looks like it's walking backwards with its chicks following behind it. What do you do?
All right, y'all.
Very difficult for me to whisper, but I think we found it.
It's a lot bigger than I expected.
Yeah, it's got a lot more babies than I expected.
Mm.
I mean,
Baby would be easier to get up.
good. I mean, that is a thing. And what do we need to do to this thing? Sorry, Tony voice. What do we need to do to this thing again?
We have to bring it back alive.
All right. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be easier to do that with a small one, except for that Mama probably doesn't going to want that.
Right.
So as you guys are talking, you are in, this is a fairly large space, but the cockatrice hears you talking and shrieks somewhat like a peacock and is moving towards you. At this distance, you can feel its gaze slamming through the intervening space like a freight train. And the fact that it has its attention on you makes you physically slower and heavier in your bodies. What do you do?
Panic.
How does bidding lore work?
Yeah, good question. If you have a motif, okay, so go one click up. If there's anything obvious about the world, I will tell you. Sometimes I forget, and you can ask me, and I'll just tell you. If there's something not obvious about the world, if you have a motif that would justify that you know it, you can say, hey, does my motif justify that I know X or Y? And if I say yes, I will tell you as much about X or Y as I know. And if I say yes and, lore dump on you, you mark out one of your lore bids. You have 4 of them. And after 4, you're too tired to think straight. They refill after a camp phase.
Okay. And so my lore master ability, by and large, lets me shift that from being a lore to being a resolve hit also, too. Is that correct?
Right.
As
So
one of the
if you
abilities?
run out of lore bids and you still need some, you can use
Gotcha.
your resolve as well.
Cool. And we didn't make camp ever, so can't necessarily ask a question about a book I've read, correct?
And you don't have any books right now. Books are kind of resources for lore masters as you find them.
Cool. So you
get-
have to have had them
Yeah,
narratively as an item.
Right.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, they're kind of items that you gain as you adventure.
Okay.
So the cockatrice is coming towards you, having noticed you because you were talking in the room with it, and it is bringing its magical, petrifying gaze to bear. What will you do?
Yeah.
Probably scatter.
Scatter in this room, or are you going to step back through the door?
Oh, I mean, I imagine scatter in this room.
Yeah.
How much does that ferrofluid look like what was coming out of the deer?
Very, very similar. Okay, so are you going to battle the cockatrice?
I do think I kind of want to bid lore. As I think my this is a little bit more of an amalgam. I feel like my character, by and large, might find weird things in the underworld and dismantle them, cook them, and sell them based on the background build. Given a mix of things. So this could be obsessive cook, though I feel like it's probably more business-minded black marketeer. What do I know about the abilities of a cockatrice and its potential weaknesses generally? Is that a thing? Is that how bidding lore might work?
So yeah, good question. A lore bid is a discrete question. So it's not, hey, what do I know about the weaknesses? It's like, or do I know a weakness of the cockatrice? That's a very reasonable lore bid. Let me just say, like, the stuff that everybody probably knows and the stuff that, you would have thought about and reminded yourself about and added about as you like wandered down the stairs to do this particular quest is that cockatrices petrify things they look at.
Right.
Just by being in its vision, you are potentially turning to stone. And that might take, several moments, but they can do that constantly at will forever. You are in dire danger by being in a room with a cockatrice. Weaknesses to cockatrice. Let me look at the cockatrice stats. So what was the lore bid? Or what?
I asked about weaknesses. That's generally what we know, though.
Yes, that is generally what.
Do we know if they're poisonous? Generally,
that,
or do I need a bid lore for
generally, you don't know if they're poisonous. That might be a lore bid question.
I want to bid lore to see if they're poisonous.
What was the motif that you were bidding?
I think actually for that one it might be obsessive cook, like because that would require the removal of any sort of glands or dangerous bits from a thing before you cook it. So obsessive cook. Is it poisonous?
Sure. Mark off one lore bid. No, it is not poisonous. The fact that it has a snake head does not confer, a venomnousness to it. Its main danger is the
petrification.
Yeah, the petrification thing. It's a bad one.
Cool. I think I've had enough of the spotlight for a second. Let me think while everybody else tells us what they do. And I'm literally fine to be the one it's rushing down on as everybody else scatters.
Yeah, so I'm interested because like I will say, like, if you are going to be in the room with the cockatrice, things are it is not what I would recommend. There's no escape from this ability. If like literally you will die if the cockatrice is getting closer to you. What will you do?
And we all would have known that.
Yes, this is You are getting hit by a train.
Okay. So closing the door is a good idea.
I would run away.
Yep.
Close the door. Close the door. Close the door.
As you close the door between the topiary garden and the hunting trophy room, the pressure of its gaze is taken off of you, and it is immediate relief. You can hear a peacock-like shrill cry from the other side of the door.
I don't like that.
I have another question, totally separate, that maybe we only recognize after the intensity of that moment. Given the length of time that has elapsed, is Mayor still invisible?
No, Mayor became
I figured as much. Okay.
visible at their turn.
Cool. All right. So I that was a lot.
Yep.
Yep.
It's in there.
We found it. It found us.
During
So
that brief moment of panic where we saw the chicks following the mother, how closely were they sticking around? Were they sort of exploring on their own but staying close?
I mean,
Or
much like a chick a collected chicks follows a hen.
Okay.
One was, half a dozen paces away. Most were like quite, at its heels. And like that is a shifting, they're different spaces away. I mean, exactly like baby chicks.
Okay.
So not in an organized straight line, but in a meandering, disorganized line.
Getting like somewhat caught behind tiny thing, like small impediments that they can't get around immediately, and like clucking and
Yeah. Well, the good news is I know that she's not poisonous.
I
That's
feel like maybe
something.
we could use our night friend as a diversion. We have him run in there and run all the way back to the back of the room. Have the cockatris chase him. We nab one or two babies and then get out. Obviously with the night friend running as well.
no one will ever say that Aiel will not rise to the challenge. I said I would help, and I will.
You are
Good luck.
the bravest of us all in many a way.
The scarecrows are involved.
Wait, are you part crow?
Me?
Are you part?
Oh,
I mean,
no, the night.
yeah, the night.
Is this an insult, my lady?
No, it's just a question given the circumstances of our meeting.
Ha ha! You are a strange one. No, all elf. He is easily, twice the size of a normal elf. Because,
You are twice the elf of any elf I've ever seen. No, I think if you can create a distraction, get in, get out, I can probably get in there and rustle up one or two of those little cockachicks.
He's thinking. I do not back down from the challenge. I can create a distraction. I wish there was a way to put something between me and its eyes, something that would obscure me.
Yeah,
to,
yeah.
to allow me to create the distraction. Do we have anything
You got that?
Group think here.
I mean, I can do it, but you'll owe me again. That's the problem. Like, I don't want you to think I'm exploiting you and just compounding debt upon debt.
There are tapestries on that wall over there.
Hey,
They gesturing off to the east.
Well, I guess we solved the problem again. So I guess, yeah, you'll just owe us one more.
Oh my God.
tapestry might work for a moment.
Hmm.
He looks at it and pulls it down. It's better than nothing, I guess.
I mean, there's also that inky, icky stuff coming down from the ceiling. You keep that stuff in between you and it.
Some of the topiary, I think, at times can run between them.
Yeah. Just try to, you got to zig and zag.
Serpentine.
So what are you going to do while I'm distracting it? You'll only have one shot.
Yeah, I got it. I'm going to run in and grab a chick.
That's a simple plan. Perhaps that is good.
Yeah.
I begin to unpack my pack for chick stuffing.
If I need to bid lore, well, is there a point at which their petrifying gaze is known to become a thing, and an age underneath which it is not a thing?
Yeah, that's probably a lore bid. But
Okay. I'll bid it again.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that you think that the chicks are too young to have a petrifying gaze.
Okay.
If they do, it is so weak that maybe it'll give you some eczema, but not petrify you to the bone.
Cool.
How big are these chicks?
Chick size, like literally chick size, like.
Okay. So the mother's a pony and
Yeah.
the chicks are a chick. Okay.
Cool.
All right. Well, Aiel says, all right, I am going to do try to not shame myself at least.
Yeah, you try.
I'm ready when you are.
So for Lore Master, should I have spin XP on that?
No, you didn't have to spend a resolve or anything. That's
Okay.
just bidding lore. That is something that anybody can do.
Okay.
All right. When you are ready, throw open the door and I will make a distraction, the knight says.
Sounds good. We get in position. Bag right outside the door. Me poised right outside the door. Knight right in front of me. I'm going to follow him in, and then split off towards the chicks whenever he freezes to stone or gets the attention of the mom.
Okay. He bellows a war cry and says, "For the king!" And he is, serpentining between topiary and running back towards if the room is an L shape, he is moving back behind the gazebo and trying to leave the room. He is not fighting the cockatrice. He is not he's doing what you did to the bugs, the giant bugs. He is running out of the room, and the cockatrice is like fluttering behind him. Its wings beating the air, feathers coming from it. Its chicks can't quite keep up.
Cool, perfect.
So its gaze is changed in direction, away from you for right now. But he is going to exit the room. He hits the halfway mark. He's going to exit the room in a minute. You have one shot to grab the chicks. Are you just going to run up and grab one?
I'm going to try to run up and grab. I'm actually going to run up and try to grab two, even though I know he said just one. I'm going to try to get an angle on two of these chicks.
Okay. I think if he's distracted, you are going to test not pentacles, cups to deal with the natural world. But you're going to have favor because the cockatrice is distracted. But if the cockatrice, if you fail to catch it, I grew up on a farm. I know what it's like to catch a chick. Those things are squirrely.
Yeah.
And if they get away from you for too long, despite the fact that I think it is fairly easy to grab a chick eventually, but if you can't corner one in enough time, this is kind of a timed thing. So I think there's some pressure.
Sure.
So let's check test cups, and you can get favor from the distraction.
All right. Test cups. Now he is being loud. I am being quiet and stealthy. Is that okay in this conceit?
Definitely, I think you're stealthy. I think the cups is because you're dealing with the natural world.
No, that's fine
and-
because I'm surprisingly nimble. Can I just spend a point of resolve to automatically succeed on a test of fate related to being quiet or subtle as I pop out from behind him and grab one of these chicks?
Sure.
Then I'll do that.
Awesome.
Love it.
Awesome. You grab
That's why.
two.
That's why I was like, literally, my plan is to just go in there and grab those chicks because I was
Okay,
like,
I was like, "Oh, you might wanna- okay, we're doing it. We're doing it live. All right. Okay.
my real
you grab-
gambit was to sucker the GM into thinking it was going to be this really big, high stakes final draw, and then I was like, oh no, you had a cool ability that I'm just going to use instead. How dare you design this game so well?
Well, I'm excited that you got to use it. So spending your point of resolve. And grab two chicks. Aiel makes it to the other side without being petrified, but he bolts through the door, the cockatrice at his heels, and has, night exunt. And Robin, you have two chicks in your hands. What do you do?
I toss them in the bag.
All right. So you've essentially emptied your whole backpack there, Reese.
Yep.
All right.
Essentially,
They are chirping away in there. The mother hears the cries of her babies, and very slowly you see the snake head come back around the corner of the room as she tries to follow the sound of the chirps of her babies.
Close the
It's time
door.
to go.
Close the door.
You leave the room and close the door shut. You have two cockatrice babies in the sack, and that is the source of your quest. Having completed your quest, everybody gain 3 XP, except for Tony because he has a new quest. He has the.
Does that keep me from cashing in the previous quest?
That is the curse of the mushroom.
Oh, boo. I thought I was going to get both and power game this business. That's fine. That's fine. I dropped my other 2 mushrooms.
Sure. Before you leave the dungeon, no doubt you will have spread the mushroom's curse.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm working it diligently.
All right, well, good job, guys.
And that was the curse of the mushroom adventure. Let's do our reaction roll. Reaction roll is a live stream inside of a live stream. It's our chance to sit down with the creator of a game that we just played and talk about what it was like to play that game today. We just finished playing His Majesty The Worm by Josh. Josh, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and tell us a little bit about His Majesty The Worm.
Yeah, definitely. Well, my name is Josh. I have been working on His Majesty the Worm for the last 7 years. It is finally going to come out this year. You can check it out on my itch page, where you can check out the the ashcan version of the appendices. Just to get a little taste. His Majesty the Worm is a dungeon crawling game. It's a new school game with old school sensibilities. It's about making big spiraling mega dungeons and then seeing what it feels like to be a human inside of them. It has robust procedures, and it has a lot of focus on inventory management, food, hunger, light, and the sort of the feelings of being deep into a dungeon.
And if you want to find out more about it, they can go to HisMajestyTheWorm.Games. It's right below Dan's beautiful face, as well as being in the notes and description of this video if you're watching it after the fact. But I had a great time playing. Let's meet some of our other players, though, and find out a little bit about what they thought. Also, if you are watching live right now or later on, feel free to drop any questions you have in the comments. We'll see if we can get an answer from Josh for you about the game also, too. But let's meet our players and talk about it. Let's start with the person who's played this game more than the other 2 of us, and that's Chris. Chris, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and what it was like to play His Majesty the Worm?
Yeah, I was one of the earlier playtesters, and honestly, it was great to return again. I've been missing it these many years, but yeah, it's certainly gotten polished since the note scratchings than it was when I was there.
I do have an extra question for you. What's one of the biggest changes that you have noted from some of those early sessions to the final one that that you really enjoy?
The weapon abilities, they make weapon choices much more interesting than just like damage values. Some carry the ability to ignore shields and all that, but yeah, that was a nice feature to return to.
Cool. So yeah, for folks who haven't seen it, things like axe of targets killed apply the same attack to another foe in range, or the bow may aim as an action and add the aim value to the next attack. Just different things like that add a little bit of flavor to each one. Awesome. Did you have any questions for Josh after having played this session, or from all the years of playing these sessions?
No questions, but I found some typos that I'll hassle him with after the fact.
Please.
Awesome.
Hit me.
Sweet. Perfect. Cool. If you think of anything you want to know or anything pops up, feel free to hop in. But let's swing over to Dan. Dan, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and what it was like to play His Majesty the Worm?
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Dan. I am a game enthusiast, podcaster, comedian, musician, jack of all trades. And this is one of many times I have been on stream with Tony. And I had so much fun today. This was an absolute blast. I really love the mechanics of the crawl aspect and the phase and the challenge phase, both like very clever and kind of new feeling approaches to it that I really enjoyed.
Cool. Do you have any questions you wanted to ask?
So cool meeting you, man.
Thank you. My question would be, what was your like inspiration to choose to use tarot as the randomizer, I guess?
Yeah. I love cards as randomizers. They're very informationally rich. So like a tarot card can have suit, have number. It can be a face card. It can be a number card. It has imagery on it. It can be reversed or upside down or right side up. You can like move cards physically around, and they're gamey, and like you can draw 3 from the discard deck or draw 3 and put 1 back, and you have all these like kind of gaminesses with cards that really attract me to them. And I think tarot cards are more pretty and look more metal than a regular deck of poker cards. One of the reasons that the GM and the players use different card sets is if you don't happen to have a tarot card deck sitting around, you can play it, and the math works out on the player side with a regular pack of cards. You just gotta squint at them, and, apply different names, but the math works out. So that's the reason that the decks are separated. I just think tarot cards are neat looking.
Nice.
Sweet. I had a blast. Also, too, I really enjoyed the way that you broke it up. I do think the minor arcana and the major arcana, having the differentiation between this is the player side of the deck and this is the GM side of the deck, actually has a really great feel to it. And I know the chat popped up on all this, but the aspect of it being like, hey, you've got your map and you've got your meat grinder is super interesting information. And again, the way that you are creating like essentially a key for here are some of the influences, but here are also some of the variables that come as you flip them. And you mentioned like the facing of the cards, like how they come up, the combinations of them, all those different pieces, being able to create more than just a, hey, roll a D20 and here's what's in the room, right? Or even, hey, roll 2 D6s, this column are going to tell you a variation on that. There's a lot of richness that comes from that as far as specific imagery and also the way it might interact with what is on the map, defining those two things and giving the GM the ability to play in the space of how does this map meet this meat grinder outcome, I think is really great. And then I'm becoming more and more a fan of, because we're getting to see more and more examples of the tactical nature that having a handful of cards and deciding how you will execute them creates really strong player agency. The +1 system by What Ain't Games, regardless of loving the naming convention, does the exact same thing. Gears from Necrobiotic does the same thing also too. We're having, hey, here are the resources in front of you. The different suits you have do matter, but maybe not as much as the numbers do, and how those different things interplay with each other lets you make really informed decisions as a player and creates a large sense of control, even in the middle of the total chaos of what everybody's doing at the same time really matters. At what point in the process did you start with tarot and that kind of number tactility early on, or did it start with kind of a different iteration?
Yeah, good question. It took a little while to finagle the combat system, where you're really thinking about hands of cards. To be in its current iteration, I don't play a ton, or okay. I love a crunchy game, and a game with like lots of tactics. I've been playing Lancer recently, and having a lot of fun with it. But there's a sort of like a critical mass where like the ability for me to keep a number of things in my head, like I can't do it, like I'm not good at it, and like some of my friends are, but like at some point I have too much stuff on my plate and I can't hold all those concepts in my head. So it took a little bit of like iterations and playtesting to get it into a space where I could kind of hold all the concepts of what these cards can do, how am I going to combo off of them, and the essential flow of combat. So I came up with the idea that like, the essential crux was I never want to wait for my turn in combat. I'm tired of doing it. Even with like really, really well-intentioned players who know the rules and who, think about their turns beforehand and look up their spells. When I have a big table of all my friends, I'm going to wait 30, 40 minutes before like the spotlight comes back around. And the idea of cards where you could play them and combo off of each other, help your friends get to that critical number they're trying to get to, whether you're trying to push them away or attack the same guy. We're all spinning cards at the kind of the same time was really important to me. And, that's the thing that I like the most about it.
I do think you created it in a lot of ways. And it wasn't even apparent until we were in play a couple times. Like, individual action is team action in this game pretty consistently. Like when Dan's character makes a move, our characters have the ability to pitch in, do minor things, and respond around that. That means that anytime anyone is acting, we're all thinking about what are we doing at this exact moment. Even when it's the enemy who is attacking, we're still thinking about what are we doing at that exact moment. That creates a constant buy-in and check-in with every single player that keeps it from ever feeling like a drag when you're in combat. And the counting down of initiative goes like incredibly quickly. As somebody who's a GURPS player, hey, we're going to count up from 3 in that system to like 18 to see where initiative falls was the thing that you did. And so it immediately flashed back to like, yeah, this is how I love initiative to work. Like I know exactly where I'm at in the order. I just don't know where everybody is. But the flexibility on like, hey, if you're rushing in and acting like brashly, you're easier to hit versus if you're standing back, you're harder to hit was very, very cool. Katya in the chat says, I have an incredible crush on these play mechanics. I want to take them out to get tacos. Question, is there a group size, His Majesty the Worm, that it feels most zeroed in for? Have you experimented with different group sizes and got a good sense of what it plays best for?
Yeah, that's a good question. In that sense, I think that His Majesty the Worm is, very much a trad RPG that like, I think the sweet spot, I try to get 6 current players because usually somebody, their baby's sick, they have to work late and they drop out, and like 4 or 5 players, combat still hums along. It's not like bogged down by that many. And we can all fit physically at the table. And, I think at 3, which you guys were at, I have noticed, so I don't think there's like challenge systems or challenge ratings in the game. But the amount of like resources that 4 players have versus 3 is different. And then like things are harder because you just have like less candles, less food, like you share those resources. But like a trad game, 3 to 6 players is a real sweet spot. Then that's what I found has been most successful.
Cool. Love it. Chris or Dan, any other questions, any other comments y'all want to toss out?
Just again reiterating how much I really enjoyed this. This was a whole lot of fun.
I think my final comment, the other thing about the tarot and the entire experience, there is a level, like you talked about old school feel, new school game with old school feel, which is a sweet spot. I feel like for +1, it's the stuff we're really drawn to as a brand and as a channel also too. But also, the incorporation of tarot cards, like, and the entire presentation of some of the different appendices that you've done and other things like that do create this very, oh man, I had the perfect word for it and I can't quite grab it now in my brain, but this very like magical, which is the far dumber version of that world, but like very arcane, sorry, like quality to the presentation of the entire thing that is exactly what I think somebody who has never played an RPG but grew up as a kid with an idea of what it must be like to do some of these things, I think grows up with. And I know one of your things is like creating the game you always wanted to play. And I do think there is something that His Majesty the Worm gets at in both the design and the play and even the physical items that you play with. The entire presentation has a level of which this is actually all very simple, but the presentation seems very arcane and obscured until you get in the middle of it, and it's very simple from that point on. But I think you grab this very interesting flavor that really inspires a certain majesty and magical nature to play that I don't think I've seen another system really do in the way that you've combined things. So I'll put that down into a nicer little quote. You can slap on things later on if you want to. But
I was gonna say that's a pull quote, Tony.
Yeah,
I'm putting that right on the cover. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So, but it really captures something, even though it's a digital product right now, in the physical execution of play that I think encapsulates the traditional idea of RPGs in a way that almost nothing else I ever have could, because we all know like the actual reality of sitting down and playing RPGs is like, you know, like chips and soda and beer on the table and like a very, very mundane human experience. Very few games capture the magic of what it is. Like, and like really like there's games like Dialect, right, which do this really amazing job at the table of creating this physical play space as you play that feels like you're being drawn into something. I can only imagine that playing this game in a physical space with the decks on the table, playing the cards out and around, feels very much a little bit Wizard Duel-y and a whole lot of fun in a way that you can't quite simulate on a VTT, but was still a really interesting and fun way to play also, and very easy to play also too with the tools. So I had an absolute blast. I really enjoyed it. I'm really looking forward to having you come back and play some more in the future with us also too. If people want to find more, again, they can go to HisMajestyTheWorm.Games to find out all those appendices and get notified when more comes up later. We are on a double stream day today, so we will be back later on this evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be playing some Bastards from the Bastardized Classic series with Matt from Manoramp Matt and John, who are the two creators. These are basically early TSR adventures that have been reimagined for the Bastard system, rules light and capturing the flavor of them without all of the poor writing and horrible fluff. So come back and check out that play this evening, or check it out in the video on demand later. If you didn't see the entire video and want to catch the whole thing, feel free to check us out over on YouTube, subscribe over there, or check out past videos. And again, we want to thank our sponsor, Happy Jack Games. Go check out Weird Dungeon over at ttrpg.link/Weird Dungeon Game if you get the chance. If you want to support this stream, the best way that you can do that financially is either go over to our Ko-fi, which is linked down below, or go to +1 EXP if you like rules light, old school games with new school flavor. You can check out Down We Go or any of the Together We Go games, which is our house OSR system. But we've got a lot of fun stuff coming up, including the stream tonight. We've got a whole lot of great things coming up this week that we're very excited about, including character study with Aaron King that the Cult is hosting, along with a few other actual plays over the course of the next week. So come on back for any and all of those. Josh, again, if people want to follow your work, know more about what you do, what's the best place for them to find you online?
Yeah, Rise Up Comus in the the internet wasteland. RiseUpComus.blogspot.com. Rise Up Comus on Twitter. That's where I hang out.
Awesome, very cool. Glad to have you with us. And at this, we've never figured out a good way to end these streams, and at this point, we're not interested in trying. So we're all just going to wave at the camera until I take us off air. Bye, everybody.